These guys don't have anywhere to go. They are discriminated. So any mediator, facilitator must sort out that discrimination to avoid the collapse in order to get a ceasefire. Now that the M23, I saw Zito thinking that they are simple boys that you are playing about with. They are not. They are not. I mean, they have captured the territory and they have recruited more Congolese officials, men, and who have joined them. The force could be growing bigger. That's why you see the leader is saying, we are heading to Kinshasa. We are heading to Kinshasa. We are heading to Kinshasa every time. And Zito, thank you for bringing it up. You didn't want to hit the nail on the head. I'm hitting it. This thing is bigger, as you say. But the point here is this. Is this country, as Sophie said, is this the same country since 1961 has brought us anguish, agony, anger, suffering every day, every year? This same country. What do we do to it? What do we do to it? Yugoslavia created chaos for Europe. Drugs, human trafficking, so many things, money laundering. It was Yugoslavia. After Marshal Tito died, it slid into chaos. Today we have about 10 states out of Yugoslavia. We have, for example, some states, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Albania, Kosovo, Serbia, Croatia. I was there in 1998. I saw the states flowing into different states. Muslims going their way, Christians going their way, mixture of Muslim and the Christians cut in the middle. They came together. Time has come for Africa to think. Let's think beyond. We cannot have one country drawing in an armies from South Africa, airlifting machinery as if you are going to pound a forest. You are pounding human beings. An army from East Africa going in. The last point that I have, the most dangerous point, the force that we should deal a blow, it should leave immediately. A useless force that has not liberated even a toilet. It's called MONUSCO or MONUSCO or FAFAC. What is that? What is this? That force, Wandera, and the fellow Africans listening to me. Dr. David Matsanga, I speak my mind. When you come to bury me with honor. It is a force used to siphon. If you look at where the peacekeepers come from, Nepal, this I have investigated. There are so many things going on. They carry gold, they carry diamonds, they sell. The peacekeepers are more countries that send peacekeepers into these regions.
Mhm.
Some of them are very poor, Wandera. But back at home, they are boosted by the minerals that they pick. So one of the most deadly force that is useless, moribund, that should move out of DRC Congo, because it cannot even liberate one toilet or one cattle deep in the same place. No toilet, no road, no safe money to Uganda. You blame us Ugandans, you are blaming Rwanda. Lastly, let me touch this point.
But Dr. Mashanga, one thing that you also forget to mention here, it's not just about pushing away the rebels, but also in terms of looking at some of the notable successes of MONUSCO and DRC. You'll agree that in some extent they've also in security institutions.
Where by
It-
calling ICC
from
to ICC to arrest 5 people? Huh? Is that justice? How many Congolese soldiers
if there was
Wandera, wait,
if
wait,
there
Wandera,
was if
give me.
there was no success attached to their presence in Eastern DRC, do you think the DRC government will then allow them to stay there for
It
that
is not
long?
the DRC government, it's the UN, because DRC government has no capability. You are asking me about the DRC army. Zito talked about the DRC. You asked about Zito about the DRC army. It's the most useless army that you ever have. If a
I want I,
no wait, if a president decides not to use his own army, if President Museveni today told Matsanga that Mr. Dr. Matsanga, my fellow man from those days of 78, we fought Idi Amin together. I've gone to buy mercenaries from Romania. And you leave UPDF without equipment. What do you think? How will this army have morale? How? Lastly, let me make my point.
To this conflict. What am I reading? I think if I'm to answer your question, why are they withdrawing? Kennedy, it's very simple. We don't even need to beat around the bush. The SADC troops were defeated in combat. It's as plain as that. They were defeated. They went to fight and they were defeated. They didn't have an option.
They were either to stay as prisoners of war in Goma or they were to withdraw. So I think withdrawing is the only sensible thing to do. And why do I say so? I think the SADC forces, their intervention in Eastern DRC this time round from December 2023, it was fully flawed, fundamentally flawed, because they got it all wrong. You know, how do you come to fight people in their own land and you don't even want to listen to their grievances? It doesn't matter who called you. Once you establish that the M23 are fighting, you know, for a place to stay and to be safe and to call home, a place where their grandparents, their great grandparents have lived from time immemorial, and you're coming to fight them there. I mean, that just shows that even in your analysis or your assessment, you got it wrong from the first place. These people are fighting in their land. If I would ask any of us here, if a foreign force came to fight you in your own home, and then they don't want you to pick arms and fight back and defend yourself, that is almost, being very naive. So let us give M23 the chance and a place to call home. And joint one for both the EAC bloc and the SADC. They are meeting on Monday to discuss on what comes next. And I think that one would also have implications on what kind of security situation are we going to have in DRC? What happens to Shisekedi? And talking of Shisekedi, he doesn't have a choice. He has to talk. He has to talk to his people. He has to talk to Congolese. M23 are Congolese. And the whole world needs to know the truth, because I think most of us have not been paying attention. And as of the SADC mission, I would say, is actually, it has highlighted to the whole world that the M23 are not rebels. This is a movement, this is a Congolese movement fighting for their right to be Congolese citizens, just as much as those in Kinshasa, in Lubumbashi, in Kasanga, wherever in the DRC. So once we have that one clear, then we will define a solution that will be amicable and acceptable to all the parties. There is no amount of force, whether SADC, whether EAC, whether American or Indian, no amount of force has the moral ground to come and fight citizens of Congolese in their soil. I would land it at that, Kennedy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eve. Thank you so much, Eve. Stay there. I'll be coming to you. For those who are following this debate, we are live here on X Spaces, but we also live on YouTube. You can go to the channel, check on YouTube, the channel. We are streaming live there. If maybe for one reason or the other, and or maybe you want to share the link, I'll be putting the link up here. We are also streaming live on the channel. Is a YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, write the channel. You'll get our conversation there as well. Now, before I take our brothers here. I've seen Dr. Wole has just joined us, and I say Dr. Wole is expert on conflict, organized crime, and security governance in West and Central Africa. Dr. Wole, good to have you here. And one of the questions that many people are raising here is, of course, President Tshisekedi kicked out the East African Regional Force, but then welcomed with both arms or with both hands the SADC or the Sami DRC. But abruptly they are leaving. They are leaving as the M23 and these other rebel groups continue to advance and take more territories in Eastern DRC. In your opinion, a strategic failure, or there are any successes that you can place on SADC forces in Eastern DRC?
Thank you so much, Kennedy. I want to say this with a modest sense of understanding that we have to respect the fallen heroes. Maybe to, I wouldn't say maybe to find a solution to the crisis in DRC, because I've said it repeatedly on this program that the ambivalent position of South Africa complicates issues. You can't, on one hand, be mobilizing not for peacekeeping, but for defense purpose, and at the same time showing up on the negotiation table, whether it is in Arusha or Dar es Salaam or anywhere those convenings have taken place. So, and the number is out there in terms of the casualty that the SADC has incurred, and what appears to be like an emergency exit now, due to reasons that at best can only be explained by SADC as an entity, and then the regional hegemon, which is South Africa, which when I talk about SADC, I'm probably talking about South Africa as the frontline country as far as that mobilization is concerned. So they are the ones who define the parameters for their involvement in the first place, and they are the one who can also trigger the exit strategy as we've seen in the recent time. But superficially, I wouldn't. It is very hard for me to be able to say this is what SADC deployment has achieved in the Eastern DRC crisis in the recent time. So, but if I've answered that question, I think as someone that is passionate about what happens in Congo, because it's my major area of research interest, and who has also personally visited and worked in North and South Kivu and had the privilege of seeing the beautiful land of Congo and what Congo is capable of achieving in an atmosphere of peace and serenity and stability. I think I have a bias for Congo. And we can't. I heard Dr. Machanga clearly in terms of his 42 pages suggestion, proposal, solution to the crisis in DRC. With profound respect to Dr. Machanga, and this is not only with respect to Congo alone. The crisis in Congo or in places that you've mentioned, it's not necessarily about the system of government. It is gross failure of elite leadership over the years. And we can go back into history to trace all these things that we're talking about in terms of how the elite, the leadership elite has failed Congo over the years to develop the country, and how they have also aligned with external forces over the years to also undermine the potential of the country. And as a Nigerian, as a Nigerian who has also seen or experienced state failure in terms of the inability of a country to live to its expectation, I can relate with what is happening in Congo. It's about leadership to start with. And I've not seen that commitment over the years on the part of the elite to develop and make that country to be great as it ought to be. Dr. Machanga mentioned India, and I'm sure everybody on this as a model of federalism that he think maybe can be imported to Congo. But I'm very sure he knows, that most people on this panel know, that India is confronted with a lot of internal contradictions in terms of religious conflict that the people have also imported to Canada in the recent time. I'm sure people are reading stories about Indian migrants who imported their local conflict to Canada in the recent time. That is the extent of contradiction that exists in those countries. Because until you have a leader that can rise up to galvanize and develop the potential of a country, it is not by the system of government that you practice. Ethiopia practices federalism, and you see, we know the internal contradictions there. Nigeria practices federalism, you know the internal contradictions that are in Nigeria. I'm not saying this to say the federalism has its inefficiencies, but those things, those are systems of government that are operated by people. On a final analysis, the crisis of nationhood is not located in the system of governance, but in the leadership that the country elite are providing for that country. So I think we have to be very, very careful in how we dissect this.
Host, protect me, please. Dr. Ojwale, you are not. I was putting a proposal. I did not say take my proposal. I gave a proposal as an academic, as an elite like you. And I don't think
Let me finish,
you are
Dr.
here to come
Machanga.
to disprove my proposal. My proposal was, if
Do I
we
have
use,
the floor?
you have the floor, but you don't come
Let
to
me
pin
finish
on my
now.
work. I
Dr.
produce yours.
Dr.
What's your
Dr.
Machanga,
suggestion?
Machanga, let me
Dr.
finish. Let me
Dr.
finish.
What's your
Machanga,
suggestion?
Dr. Machanga, hold on. You
Don't
put a
come in
proposal.
here to criticize what
Hold
you don't
on.
know.
No, Dr. Machanga, hold
You will
on.
know that with profound
You've had your
respect.
time. You've had your time. You put a proposal in the public, and
In the
anybody
Yes,
public.
here
and
can
in the
look at.
proposal, my
Hold on.
my
Hold
learned
on,
friend
Dr. Machanga.
Wandera,
Hold on, Dr. Machanga.
my learned friend is not giving his
Hold,
suggestions. I've given my
he will.
suggestion. But I'm not
Hold,
going to
hold.
listen to somebody just pinning Matanga's proposal. Matanga, I have proposed.
No, hold on, Dr. Machanga. We cannot speak over each other,
Dr.
Dr. Machanga.
Everybody has been listening.
Yes. You put the proposal in the public, and let people also put and think what they have to think about what the proposal you've made. And that's why we're having a conversation here. Dr. Wale does not say what you said is absolutely wrong, but he's also saying something different, which then in his own view seems to work or doesn't work. And that is perfectly okay, because then we're having a conversation here. So hold on.
Okay, thank
Dr.
you.
Wale, proceed.
Kennedy, I think this is a public square in which, and this has been a very learning experience for me.
Yeah.
Currently, about 538 persons are listening to this program, and I believe you draw your participants from different strategic corners of Africa. I've listened to senior government officials here. Dr. Machanga has a leverage that I know that even me, I don't have, but I am on this platform. If you have submitted a proposal to the regional economic community, I mean, that is not an ordinary document. And if it is in the public, I think we are here to also comment and make our own input. Dr. Machanga, if you invite me to a validation meeting, does it mean that you will not allow me to talk? You have flown me down to your validation meeting. Is it that I should just come and I should not be able to make a critique? This is not a criticism, it is a critique. And I'm only saying, if you listen to what I'm trying to say, that it is not almost about the system of government. See, people operate a system. And if you don't have a leadership that is really ready to galvanize the needed support to provide a solution to any crisis, it's at best a system is operated by the people. And I've cited examples. And I've also put my country out there. There are times that you criticize my country here. I've never come to, I mean, because it's a public
Fair, fair,
conversation.
fair enough. Fair enough. Doc, proceed.
So what I'm trying to say is that the crisis in the DRC are I will locate the challenge in leadership failure on the part of the elite. Kennedy, tell me, which of the presidents in the recent time in DRC have not, in one way or the other, been found around the corridor of this patronage politics that has to do with the sharing of the commonwealth of the people? I've personally traveled to those places and I could see a wealthy country in which people are living below their potential. That's what we're talking about here. So, why I appreciate the fact that you need to strengthen governance, you need to strengthen things that are going to make for the maximization of the potentials of the country. I'm saying even if you develop a unitary system of government or a federal system of government, and you have an elite that only want to serve patronage politics, it is going to be zero upon zero. And it is not a Congo reality alone, it is almost all over the places in Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wole. Um, like I indicated, I want to bring our brothers and sisters in DRC, and even you who is here and want to speak. Then we can also hear from you. What do you think? But before I do that, there is a tweet that I placed on the dashboard where our brothers and sisters in the audience are placing comments. Allow me to just read a few comments from them, and then we go straight into this so that I also allow them to be part and parcel of this conversation. In the meantime, like I've said, we are live here on X, but we're also live on YouTube. You can check the Chanzo. It's called the Chanzo. We are having a conversation on that end as well. You can share the link as well. Now, there is a comment from okay, Sophie has been here. I think she's coming back. Says this is very informative discussion on the situation in DRC. Then Eve is also here. Says SADC forces have withdrawn because they've been defeated in the theater. Simple as that. Then we have this Paul Rumiga. Paul says, and I think he has provided routes here and people who he thinks are operating in Eastern Congo. But he says this needs to be addressed for Congo to have peace. And then says, South Africa this, South Africa that. The truth of the matter is South Africa failed its mission in DRC. That is Kurundai Lima. And then you have Shalom Waki saying Nyabiondo has been recaptured by the FRDC Wazalendo coalition as we speak. Okay. And then we have Mache say the only solution on Africa is in the hand of Julius Malema. Malema must be called to give SADC the way through. Okay. Lukwago Saleh says Dr. Machanga and Zito, why Africans are unable to have their own solutions? That's a question that's being posed by Lukwago. Radio Silent says Sami DRC intervention was wrong from the jump. One thing we ought to understand as Africans, or especially fellow brothers in Congo, no one has ever won a war against people fighting for the right to exist. Okay, that is Radio Silent. Pan African says this is Pan African. Bunagana 24 says because there is nothing they are doing, the mission failed. Aha, okay. Paul Remiga says not 9 neighbors, but Rwanda and Uganda. This is the same scheme. Okay. Chacha Marawa says I've requested to speak. If you're here, you'll just get an opportunity to speak. Of course, Dr. Machanga is saying here that Kennedy, I said it clearly that the weakest link is the leadership of DRC. Dr. Changa Biga Shigibo says, what is the YouTube link? The YouTube link is called the Chanzo. The Chanzo. Check on the YouTube link where we are streaming live. It's called the Chanzo. Engineer Octavian Lasway says, now the conflicts started in the space to discuss conflicts. Okay. No, this is it's not a conflict, but I think it's just a difference in opinion, and it gets really heated here. And sometimes it gets heated here. It is just good for conversation that we are having here. So, Engineer Octavian Losway, it's not that the conflict has started in this particular space to discuss another conflict.
Yes,
Gachikanye
Kennedy,
says one part of
Dr.
SADC.
Matanga knows I have a profound respect for him. So it's just
Yes, he knows it.
I also know Wale, I have respect for you.
Good,
And
good, good.
there's one thing that I had said, Kennedy. I also said, in fact, Wale was supporting me. I said the weakest link is leadership of DRC Congo. I don't know
I,
why
I'm,
the host is not
I'm,
mentioning that Matanga made that
I'm
point.
happy. I'm happy that there is profound respect
We
for each
agree.
other,
We
and we
agree
really
on
appreciate
that.
you.
It's the
Good.
leadership.
Okay,
Yes.
very well, Dr. Matanga
Wale,
said
I
there.
have respect for you
Gashikanye.
on that, sir.
Okay. That is the spirit. That is spirit. There is Gashikanye says one part of SADC felt Pan-African spirit. Now he tried to change position after he lost militarily. Action mean boots on ground. Alex Kimtai Machanga is on fire, speaking the truth as it is. Okay. Um. Huh. James says thank you, Sister Evelyn. Evelyn. God bless you. Okay. And then we have. Let me take two more. This is Martin Chiruka. Martin Chiruka says the president of DRC wants or have already sold DRC. Okay. Lavas Mutex says the foreign forces are fighting for minerals. Marine Kagugu says South African failed in its mission. Okay. I think we can leave it at that so that then we can put voices on this. I want to go straight to our brothers and sisters who are here, and some of them are in DRC, so that we can also hear from them. But in the meantime, please, I've said we are streaming live on the channel on YouTube. Please, if you cannot get this space and you want to pass it to someone who cannot access it, please share the link with them, or you can also go and listen to that particular conversation later on after we are done here. But I will also say that we use this platform every Friday to network and connect with our brothers and sisters across Africa. And you just never know. You may be getting someone who is uh, uh, who will be connected to you in this space, professionally, academically, or personally. And who knows? Get into their DM, talk to each other. We say we offer platforms, but also to talk to each other, because with challenges that we have here, the best way is to talk to each other. So please connect with each other, follow each other, follow my panelists here, follow each other in the audience, follow me as well, and I'll also keep in touch with you. Let me start with this is Richard. Richard, Richard Capen. Richard, proceed.
Hi, Kennedy. Thank you. Can you hear
I
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Proceed, bro.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak on your space here. And just quickly to raise one of the things I think we spoke in the DM, and that I can see the panel. I really value most of the contributions here, and very, very interesting. But one thing I may want to say as well, as I said in the DM, is that Congo is quite a big country, and say sometimes when we see these debates going on, and we don't tend to see many Congolese voices or so-called experts. And sometimes I wonder myself if we really do have that consideration to Congolese, because there are Congolese experts on conflict. There are Congolese academics who've been studying, not just studying, but also living in flesh what's going on in the country. So I really hope, I'm not going to be long, but I really hope more time will be given to Congolese who actually are not only experts but also lived some of these realities in their flesh, more time to speak as some of your on your panel have been doing. So just going back to the topic really, and as I said, I won't be very long. What I wanted to say is that I just want to invite all of us here and warn against a kind of what may come across as a sense of triumphalism, and also sometimes belittling what's going on. Because as Congo, some of you have touched on that. We've had one of the longest dictatorship in the country, 32 years with Mobutu. Congo's almost untouchable, with one of the strongest army in the region, and so on. But all of that vanished in one day. So what we may see today, okay, SADC troops retreating because maybe they've been defeated and so on. We may know 100% why they are withdrawing, but some theories exist saying yes, maybe it's because things were not really coordinated strategically, there were miscalculations and so on. That may be true, but going forward, what I would say one factor has been consistent throughout the history and throughout this conflict is the fact that the Congolese people have never been listened to. So we're talking about poor, weak leadership. We talk about weak army and so on. But Congo has had elections in 2006, elections in 2011, elections in 2018, elections in 2023. And we've even had some observers from some of these sub-regional organizations coming in and say, yes, we validate these results when they fully know that the Congolese people spoke differently, but this was not allowed. And then we go back in the same cycle of trouble and armed conflict. So one thing I may say as African is also to start to listen to our population, because this type of top-down approach to things, even in the EAC, we have countries such as Uganda, Rwanda, dictatorships, and they have their own issues, not allowing the people to speak. One day, this will boil to the surface, and there will be trouble in that region. So going forward, I think the best approach to me would be to start to listen to our people. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard. And I agree, Richard, of course. And that's why we're having this conversation, bringing voices from our brothers and sisters in Congo to be part and parcel of this conversation. I agree. Let me bring in, this is Kenyan German lady. The floor is yours. Proceed. Are you there? Unmute your mic.
Hi. Did you call me, Kennedy? Was it
Yes,
me?
yes, yes, yes. Proceed. How are you? Good to see you.
Okay.
Proceed.
I'm so tired. Always tired. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I have been avoiding spaces, but I just wanted to chime in when I heard a few things. I can hear this ping pong. Nice to hear from you. Thank you, Kennedy, for hosting the space. Thank you very much. Just to really appreciate your work. And now to start off, we have here so many experts talking about Tshisekedi, but we forget we had Mobutu Sese Seko, same problem. So Tshisekedi and Mobutu are not the problems. What is the problem in Congo? We're not touching on that and dancing around it. Just like the Berlin conference happened, we're talking about a country with offering solutions for that country without their participants involved. That is wrong, first of all. So this is not the African conference around Congo. We need to speak to those who are in the country. Now, the ongoing conflicts in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And Tshisekedi can come and go, and another president can come and go. But if we don't talk about the problem, then we will never find a solution. We have the instability, first of all, in the East African region with Museveni, and then we have Ruto. It is just a mess. But how can a country that has been destabilized for over a century be stabilized by an East African community and then the SADC region, which is still under apartheid, and the other region under, oppression of, with dictators, rife with dictators. Now let me come down because it just pisses me off. The conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo, it remains deeply intertwined with its immense mineral wealth. We have to talk about the beneficiaries of those mineral resources. We have the armed rebel activity, we have the external exploitation. Now, the eastern regions of the country which are rich in critical resources like cobalt and coltan, as you all know, have become a center of violent contestation. Okay, so we have the armed groups, including the M23, as they call them. But this is just, I would like to liken it to a family member who is the black sheep of the family. You cannot exclude M23 because M23 is Congo. It has always historically been Congo. You cannot talk about Congo without talking about M23. So Tshisekedi cannot find solutions by excluding M23 from the conversation. Now, these rebel groups, M23, they continue to exploit these resources, generating revenue, to fund their operations. But who are pulling the strings? We have France. And last week, Dr. Matanga talked about France. France is the cancer on the African continent. We cannot dance around that. Who are the beneficiaries of these mineral resources? We have China. There's molybdenum or something. There's a Chinese company. I'm going to look it up. But it goes MOLY and then BE, I think, something. BD or so. Then we have Glencore from South Africa. Then we have the Eurasian Resources Group. We have Equity Bank from Kenya. We have Getka Mines, which is DRC's state-owned mining company. All these companies are seeking to benefit from Congo. But when it comes to conflict resolution, not mentioning the humanitarian organizations which were founded actually because of Congo in the 60s. Those humanitarian organizations, all they do is to siphon Africa's mineral wealth into the European countries in order to fuel their economies. So we cannot talk about Tshisekedi. Tshisekedi is, okay, well, that's the topic. Sorry, Kennedy. I'm not disrespecting you, okay? I know Tshisekedi is also playing a huge role as a, as an enabler. But we cannot talk about the presidents because anyone will come in and Congo will be in the same situation. How do we find solutions? We have to involve the Congolese in these conversations. We have to talk to them and see how the situation on the ground is. Because we report as outsiders and talk about it and, just like they're not even involved. Now, the broader instability in East Africa, which I mentioned earlier, I'd just like to touch on that a bit before I land. It plays a very crucial role, and I think we're undermining that. So leaders such as William Ruto and Uganda's Yoweri Museveni, how do they want to find resolutions for a conflict if they themselves have instabilities in their countries? And last week, Dr. Matanga talked about, okay, we have these countries like Kenya, which are, they have, I don't know, he used a special word, because we are kind of, it's peaceful in Kenya. No, Dr. Matanga, I totally disagree, and Kenyans will disagree. We do not have peace in Kenya. It is unstable. And Kenya being the core and the cornerstone of stability in East Africa, if they don't resolve their resolutions, the Congolese can also not be free. So we cannot just talk about the Congolese without looking at these factors. Kenya, the Equity Bank, is controlling mining in the Congo. So we have to involve the Congolese. All these countries have to leave. And Sudan bringing its forces to Kenya to form a parallel regime and stop everything, because it really pisses me off. Sudan is also one of those participants. Everyone around surrounding the Congo is involved in this conflict. So we have to find solutions, but we cannot exclude Congo. That's all I wanted to say. And then the Western interests, we have to cut ties with the Europeans. They must understand that Africans are educated and well in a position to find solutions to their own conflicts. They are the ones who fuel the conflicts on our continent. We have to do away completely with the Europeans and especially the French. Thank you very much, Kennedy. I think I've spoken too much. I apologize for that. And good evening.
Thank you so much, Kenyan German lady. Truly appreciate you've been one of our supporters here, and we truly appreciate your presence here. Let me take this is Dr. Jan Benz off.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time to talk about my country because I'm Congolese. And I appreciate all Pan African guys who attend this meeting. To focus my speech on the topic. And I think the first problem I like to say to the African problem must have the solution, the African solution. And Congolese problem also need to have Congolese solution. With one person who stop all proposals, it our President Tshisekedi. Why I focus my speech on Tshisekedi? At the beginning of this war, the current war or the current crisis, he can stop it by dialogue with people who fight against our regimes, our government. They are Congolese. Tutsis, M23, they are Congolese. Nobody, no one can tell them to leave Congo and to go to live at their place. They are Congolese. But our president refused to agree that in the beginning of this war. And since now, he continued to refuse the dialogue between people. But, we have two kinds of problems in our countries. We have external problems and internal problems. Today, I like to focus on internal problems because the external problems is the consequence of the internal problems. Our leaders, our president, create many problems. First, he came in the power and he like to change the constitution of our country. Our country, we have more than 450 tribes. But our president focused only to help his own tribes of Luba. This is a main issue of this crisis. Despite his failures, he like to to change the constitution and to put people to fight each other. You can now understand why we have now Wazalendo in our country. We don't know who are Wazalendo. Who are exactly Wazalendo? He prefer to call military of other countries to come in our country to defend our country without to help our own people to be able to defend our country. But he prefer to call other soldiers or from other countries and to come to fight in Congo. But the problem is Congolese conflict. These people, they ask just to be recognized kind they are Congolese. And we can stop this war by political solution. I think and I believe the SADC leaders now they understand that the problem is Tshisekedi because they proposed him to dialogue with people, with his countrymen. But he think he can go in USA and to negotiate a deal with our minerals to obtain military support in order to establish himself as the sole ruler of Congo. Nobody can accept it. He cannot become our father. He is not our father. He is not the father of our nation. He is just a president. He can start a project and leave the power. But Itinkan is the special president from Congo. We cannot allow it. We cannot accept it. And I think now, when he called other countries to come to help us, and they proposed him to discuss with his countrymates, but he refused. Now he think he can go to United States to ask support and to come to kill African people. It's unacceptable. I think the problem is Tshisekedi. In our country, the spiritual leaders of Senko, of ECC, some church in Congo, they proposed the discussion between Tshisekedi and other Congolese. But he refused. He's the one who refused. The leaders of Africa proposed the dialogue. He refused. The leaders of the spiritual leaders in our country, they proposed dialogue in Kinshasa. He refused. But I like now to know what is the solution, because his leadership is failed. What is the solution? For me, I think one solution is the resignation of Mr. Tshisekedi. We will try our best to dialogue each other with Congolese and to have solution with our conflict. Thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy.
Amisi,
I finished. I finished my speech. Hello, can you hear me?
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Jan Benzoff. Let me bring in Amisi. Is Amisi there? If Amisi is not there, then we can take Stanley. Stanley?
Yes, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. So, I will just speak as someone whose mother is from Congo, from Kinshasa, and my father is Liberian, of course. And I worked for some time in the both Kivus, North and South Kivu. So I will give my experience, not more from an intellectual one, but from someone who worked in the region and have a better understanding as to the conflict in the region. Now, my half fellow countrymen just spoke, blaming Tshisekedi for what happening, which is very good. But we must say something here. Tshisekedi was elected. Tshisekedi was elected, and he had constitutional mandate. Now, the issue of the SADC, we must understand why SADC went to Congo. SADC was created to create a buffer zone between the rebels and the government, and not to engage into battle. Now, um, that doctor from Uganda said that all of Congo's neighbors are taking minerals from the Congo. But let us ask ourselves a question, which I don't believe is true. But for the sake of this conversation, let's say that is true. Why is there no conflict at Congo Zambia border, at the border with Angola, at the border with Central Africa, and the rest of the countries? Only Rwanda and Uganda border have the issue. I think I know the answer. For the past 30 years, Rwanda. So first thing, we must establish something here. In every conflict, we have the aggressors, perpetrators, and the victim. And we must establish that in this current conflict, Rwanda is the aggressor. Now, for the past 30 years, Rwanda has intervened militarily in the Congo. The first 15 years, Rwanda had justifiable reason for doing that. That is, genocide has just occurred. There were, there were allegations of the entire hardware coming into Congo. So they had every right, every right to have pursue them. But then the more we go down into history, the less this whole, the whole narrative become true. Why? Why do I say so? Now, Rwanda has established herself as a military power in the region. Rwanda has set her eyes on the Congo mineral wealth. 60% of Rwanda's revenue comes from illegal mineral trade, with the Congo. 30% is through aid, and 10% is from the revenue itself. So definitely without Congo, Rwanda is nothing. Obviously, economically, Rwanda is nothing. President Kagame is aware of that fact, and so he has managed to always have a Congolese president that is better controlled by Kigali. He did that with Laurent Kabila, father, and then Laurent Kabila himself. And now he is not successful in doing that with Tshisekedi. Now, let us come to this whole issue of dialogue. We have the Luanda Agreement, in which there has been serious dialogue. There have been the Nairobi Accord. There have been the Arusha Accord. There have been, like the one Luanda one. Kagame Ames had just not respected this agreement. We always see the M23 popping up. Always see. In the most recent one, before I left Goma, we had intelligence. That Kagame has gone to Turkey to establish a military deal. To buy drones and surface-to-air missiles. When at this point, Rwanda is not in conflict with anybody, right? Why is he procuring this weapon? We know fully well, and he has admitted it into serious interviews that that most of the minerals in Tel Aviv, in the UAE, everywhere. I would like to draw a parallel of this conflict between what happened in Liberia. So in Liberia, we had this dictator who was sitting in Monrovia that terrorized our neighbor Sierra Leone, La Cote d'Ivoire, and Guinea Conakry for over 15 years. The Nigerians went there to help. I met Professor Adeyemi, at a peace conference. I met Kofi Annan, and then we were talking about these things. And Kofi Annan said to me personally that once Taylor is gone, there will be peace in the region. And so our Nigerian brothers and sisters, over 5,000 Nigerian peacekeepers died in Liberia. And when Taylor was arrested, taken to the War Crime Court, you can check Liberia and Sierra Leone. There has been peace for the past 15 to 20 years. So coming back to Rwanda, my solution is that unless today I'm in Amsterdam in The Hague because we are here doing some work for, to present some articles about Philippines president who was brought here. Tomorrow I'll be flying back to Ottawa. Unless Kagame is arrested, brought to the International Criminal Court, and humiliated, there will be no peace in the Great Lake region. Kagame is the only obstacle to peace in the Great Lake region, and everyone knows that. And the entire East African head of state are afraid of Kagame. Why? Because Kagame spy on every East African leader and report to foreign countries. We have evidence. Kagame had gone to Israel, had a software called the Pegasus. Not only East African leaders, he spy on Rwandese abroad. He has created a complete
Pukashe RDC. I don't know if that name is pronounced that way. Is it Pukashe or Pukase?
You got it right, brother. Don't worry about that. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Proceed.
I really appreciate you, brother Kennedy, for what you're doing and for all the fellow Africans. I wanted to put it that way. I'm Pukase, I'm a Congolese. I'm on the floor talking as a father whose son was stranded there in Goma for 3 days as a doctor taking care of the wounded, and which I didn't hear from for over 3 days. And my father will now manage to send the family to Kampala and the other part of the region. I'm also an academic. Let me say, if it was only up to me, I will start by asking all Africans gathering in this conversation today by observing a minute of silence for the millions of Congolese lives. But I won't go there because I'm not the host. But what I want people to remember here, by talking, we are using these things called mobile telephone. Whatever you're using a computer to get your voice heard, just remember it is very possible that there might be some blood of young children who were killed because other people, either Samsung or Apple, wanted to buy this cell phone and becoming the wealthiest company in the world. So what I'm trying to say is this: we are Africans. And I wanted to say hi to Dr. Machanga, participated in the space. Last month, on the 26th of February 1885, that's where what is called the final agreement. They call it a general act was signed for the scramble for Africa. And it was done in Europe where people gather. They were separate then. They wanted to divide Africa to get their share. So it's 140 years since that happened. And here we are, as African, we are talking about how we can be divided more and serving the same people divide us, who today now are joined together in European unions, whatever organization. I'm talking about the country where you see me putting Lumumba is a message to everyone to understand that Congo was killed at the birth. But the same people now who are talking about the mineral resources, communism, whatever name they call, Lumumba was killed, assassinated, and they made sure that even his dead body could not be recovered because they call him a communist. Look what's happening in Congo now. We are talking about a non-man's land. Because all of this, the mineral we're talking about here, do you know how much China is getting? Do you know why now the West has found a leverage country with a leverage army to protect their interests so African can die and nobody talking about something? So we calling names M23. Let me remind you, when you say M23, it only means March 23rd, 2009. So again, in just a week, less than 2 weeks, it will be 16 years since the birth of this movement. So what have not been done in 16 years? I wanted to talk a little bit about Tshisekedi because myself, I can't hide it to you. I'm a fierce opponent of Tshisekedi. I supported the guy who won the election in 2018. Well, a lot of people don't know his name is Martin Fayulu. But this is beyond Tshisekedi. It's been on power for 6 years. So M23 has been there for 2009. So what now we're talking about everything. I understand ethnical politics as the people wanted to play here. Ethnical politics exists everywhere in Africa. That's why Mr. Ruto and Uhuru went to ICC to be judged for the Kenya electoral. Ethnical politics divide people because, of course, there was scramble for Africa. They divide that on the table, and we still don't know which way to go. Remember in 1964, after independence, they came together as what you know as a group of Casablanca and Morovia. They were trying to decide what are we gonna have as a policy, which way to go with all these borders that we know they were thrown on the stood that we will work together. We can create the United African Nation, but we can also respect these boundaries. Instead of building wall, we will build bridges with our own people creating wealth. I would love to participate in a space where Mr. Kennedy and other African trying to see how we as African can use our own wealth to create wealth, to do business in Africa, to create a safe place for ourselves as a people. And yet we are here. We're talking about the movement today that, you know, who's overseeing the movement? Mr. Nanga, to those who don't know Nanga, who is now the leader of AFC, Alliance Fleuve Congo, the Congo River. He is the very man who was a chairman of the Electoral Commission in Congo and who oversee the rigged elections that sees Tshisekedi on the power. And you know who decided that we need to endorse this election? Is President Kagame, with all the respect, who's now today talking about Tshisekedi past, whatever he was, what he did. I don't think that's the debate. You also need to be held accountable to understand as a chairperson of or chairman of African Union back then, he held a meeting with 8 head of state for over 9 hours to decide if they're gonna go with a rigged election in Congo. Now you are talking about the Congolese people, which Tshisekedi is. You pick Tshisekedi and you impose him, regardless the will of the people. So you need to take your kind of your share of accountability on this decision. So I will make it short to say this. I understand what's happening to some community in Congo. And make no mistake, it's not only the Tutsi. What you call the first Congolese war have led to a Tutsi becoming a vice president in the Congo. All these things they're talking here, 1980, they kick people. There is no such a law in Congo that's prohibited or not recognizing any portion of Congolese. This question is already solved by the constitution of the Congo. But I understand people can live together because of this interest. And they try to mislead other people that what's happening in the region is only about ethnic politics. It is not. And the reason why SADC, because that's the topic today, they withdrew. But how do they get there for the first place? Remember, it was the EAC forces that came into the Congo And you can tell Felix Tshisekedi talking to a Kenya general, like not knowing why these forces came here. Nobody knew they were peacekeeper or they came to fight. And again, the SADC was there. They described themselves as a peacekeeper. So they didn't come to fight. So there is a misunderstanding of the whole thing. And when now you see a country which is Congo now is a member of EAC at the time of member of SADC as a Tanzania, now they're coming to say who's gonna fight who? So the problem here, we need to have a big picture. As a Congolese, I feel the pain. As a person who has lost family member to this conflict, I know people will come here. We tell you that it's only about ethnic politic. But you know what? Go back and check for yourself. March 23, 2009, military chief is a young Congolese, born in Congo, but he crossed the border to Uganda when he was only 17 to become an RPF soldier. He never trained to the Congolese army. And so are all of them, including Bosco Tangana, who's serving in ICC court right now as we speak, including Kunda Batwara, who's still in Rwanda in hiding. And so all these people that will tell you it's been the same thing. Obasanjo was the president. He came to the region. Now he's now a mediator. So how we solve these people? Of course, we need to understand it passed through the will of the people first. Understanding that Congo needed to be respected. The will of the Congolese people gotta be respected. Now you're sending Nanga there after rigging election, then it's gonna solve the Congolese? No. Mr. Kagame, Mr. Museveni, all of them, they need to understand we cannot keep playing these games. We cannot so calling like a building economy in the expenses of a people's life. That's not right. And the only way now we need to solve, there are so much problem in Congo. I can guarantee you that. The poor leadership. Look at the Tshisekedi. In 6 years, he made a bad situation, made it worse because of unprepared. He was unprepared to lead the country. He was picked and handpicked and then imposed at the head. Now we have all these consequences. Remember, Uhuru was the only head of state who attended Tshisekedi inauguration back in 2019 because everybody in the continent, they knew that Tshisekedi never won the election. So why do they support him, including Mr. Kagame? So we need to understand the Congolese are tired of this. And for those African who are here, we need to start looking at this situation not like a Congolese situation. We need to look at this is our problem as an African. As Frank Feno once said, Africa has a shape of a gun, and that trigger is in Congo. Understand why everybody want a part of Congo. How can we here be talking about the country that everybody says potentially the wealthiest in the world, and yet you find the poorest people in the world, and yet you find in that country where there is no road, no infrastructure, nothing since independence. We are talking about Tshisekedi, but in Congo, there's nothing done. Because the same people, they pick Mobutu, they kill Lumumba. Now they are at the same game. So I really wanted to thank everybody to just think about the people. Don't think about the Tshisekedi. I would love to say what next for the Congolese people. Because Tshisekedi will go as he came. What we as African we want for our brothers and sisters, that we can see all these images going viral when you see people dying like that. I don't know how to describe. Is this okay for us as a people? And that's why we're going to push. We need to push very hard to make sure that our leaders in the region come to understand. You know what is ironic? When you look at the border between Rwanda and the Congo, is one of the busiest in the world. And you look at the potential of people doing business together and living together, even for years. It's all every day. It's over 60,000 people crossing the border. So what I mean, people live together. It is about the mineral, and mineral now. You see, President Kagame is going out there telling you he put 100 in the country, but he put himself 100 on the scale. What does that mean? What he doesn't tell people that Rubaya, where M23 are standing right now, is over 20% of the whole world of coltan
Mhm.
production. So we need to stop with this ethnical politic to justify a looting and the killings in other countries, especially for the people who went through the most brutal genocide that's happened to the Tutsi. They will never support to see other people killed like that. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay. Um, thank you, Pukashe. Um,
Wandera,
I
Sophie wants to make
Sophie,
a reply.
Sophie and Kenyan German lady, I can see your hands up. But let me start with Kenya German lady, and then I take Sophie.
Thank you very much once again for according me this opportunity to speak. I was kind of boiling when Stanley was speaking because he mentions Kagame as the problem. Now, one thing I don't understand is, are we constantly implying that we are so stupid that we have to go and report to Europe each and every problem and conflict that is ongoing in Africa? Excuse me, if you want to be put in that box that you call yourself a fool, that you have to go and seek solutions from the very oppressors and the ones who caused these conflicts on the African continent, you're on your own, because we are an educated folk and we are not going to report to the ICC like our forefathers did. All these institutions, the International Criminal Court, the United Nations, and all its daughter bodies were built on the backs of Africans. Without Africa, there will be no NATO. And that is why I am celebrating the current conflicts in NATO, because we are outside of that conflict. We have our own problems. They have bigger problems, but yet they want to solve our problems. Excuse me, please think for a second and stop putting us back to pre-colonial eras. And we want to fight, and we want to really fight on our own. If you look at the Malabo Protocol, we talked about it extensively on Dr. Mathanga's space last year. The Malabo Protocol now is a legal document. It's a legal instrument. Let me call it instrument for Africa, as it seeks to establish the in establishing the African Court of Justice and Human Rights. So this court would address international crimes such as genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, alongside with transnational offenses like corruption, money laundering, and the illegal exploitation of resources. So we have something in place. But if you look at the countries that have ratified, we since 2014, these Malabo Protocol exists. But we have 15 countries. What are all other African countries doing? We have to go like the fools we are and report to the Europeans. Help us solve the problems you caused. Of course, they are coming for the mineral resources. Let us wake up. If you look at the countries on trial currently, they're only African countries. We have Sudan, the Central African Republic, then we have Mali, Uganda. We are always on trial in Europe. And the fools will run to Europe once again and report their siblings to Europe. Like, why? If you have a conflict within the family, do you run to your neighbor and tell them your sibling is doing this, or do you solve it? Let us please grow up, let us be mature, and let us stop running to oppressors to seek solutions for the problems they caused. Thank you very much, Kennedy. I apologize for the outburst. I just can't stand it anymore.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Kenya German lady. I know it gets hot here, and I know emotions also run high, because and like my brother indicated earlier, people are suffering in Eastern DRC. As we speak now, people are on the move. Yeah. Children who grew up in the villages can no longer know where they are at the moment because they are on the move. People are suffering, and it's a huge humanitarian crisis. People are dying. So I know we have the audacity to converge here and speak, but there are people who are suffering, and I also want us, as we continue having this conversation, let's be a bit sensitive to the plight of these people. We're talking about many people living in their homes, places they've called homes, they are no longer homes. They are just trying to look for a place where they can stay for a night or for a day because they don't know what will happen tomorrow. It's quite difficult. And that's why the space we had sometimes back, it was one of the spaces where we indicated we were actually calling out these leaders because just like the Kenyan
Kennedy.
we can truly solve our problems without resorting to getting validation from external sources, and that has been the problem in Africa. Many times we cause problems to ourselves, and then we run outside Africa to go and look for solutions. So, are we helping ourselves? Are we exposing ourselves? What are we doing?
Am I?
And this has been the problem. Look. For instance, let me give the example of Sudan. When the Sudan conflict began, there were efforts to have that particular conflict resolved through the IGAD, through the African-led mediation. But then we saw, on the other hand, they're in Saudi Arabia. I don't know. They are going where? We don't trust ourselves that we can have solutions, and that's a big problem here that we're having here.
So this don't blame
We
me.
cause problems to
You
ourselves,
tell
but
them
then we
you
cannot
this is
have the
just very
audacity
good.
to
Good.
solve the
Good.
problems by ourselves. And this is what
Not
Sophie
your
was talking
head, but
about
with
here.
love. Not your head, but with love.
We go
Yeah,
out
Kennedy.
there and people look at us and say, these guys look stupid because they are fighting themselves. And then they are running to us to help them look for solutions. What are we doing?
What?
Let me give an example of when East Africa Regional Force came to the Eastern DRC. These guys from East Africa said,
Immediate.
we are not going to fight these people because at the end of the day, they are Congolese. Because entering in combat is killing the daughters or the sons of the soil.
I know.
Then President Tshisekedi was not happy because East Africa Regional Force was not fighting, was not engaging these guys in combat.
But
Then he said,
someone
no. Even he was rapping
somebody is trying to put
the other general
okay.
from Kenya who was leading the
It's
mission
kind of yes,
in
but
front of everybody in the
even the
public eye, like
DRC
a child. And people say, no, this cannot happen. Then he ended up ensuring that the East African Regional Force leaves. Now, SADC has been there since 2023. Now they are also leaving. But they are leaving at a time when M. Ventura is continuing to gain more territories. So what is going to happen to his government? The other day he said he doesn't want to talk. They had a conversation in Nairobi, the political track, the military track, which was being conducted under President Kenyatta as a facilitator of East African region in Nairobi. These guys had come to Nairobi many, many times. They were living in hotels here in Nairobi. Yeah. And the government of Kenyatta was trying to persuade, even moving to the extent of going to DRC to rally the communities and saying, let's talk to each other. President Tshisekedi, have a table, let's talk with the Ventura, let's talk with these people, let's hear what they have to say. So the East Africa Regional Force was in that particular country and had tried to gain some more territories that had initially been taken over by the Ventura. integrating the communities, opening up the roads that had been closed to allow humanitarian access and to allow people to resume their normal lives. That was happening. So when they left, M23 and other rebels took over. They've gone to Goma, Bukavu. Now they are moving with a lot of speed. Who knows where they are going to end? Now he's saying he's ready to speak with M23, a group that he had indicated he's not going to have a conversation with. So I think we need sincere leaders. We need honest leaders, and the conversation that we are having here, we just need to talk to ourselves and also understand that people are suffering. People are suffering. People in Kinshasa may not know the magnitude of people who are dying in Goma and other adjacent areas. People are dying. Young mothers are being raped. Yeah. But then here we have leaders who just sit in rooms, living posh lifestyles, while people are dying. People are dying. So, my brothers and sisters, I think as we have this conversation here, I think we need to be truthful to ourselves. Let's just be truthful to ourselves.
Exactly.
And as we have a conversation, let's also understand the plight of people who are leaving their homes in droves. Sophie?
Yes, I just wanted to say the speaker uh, who was very eloquent in terms of the situation in the DRC, and you can hear that this is someone who is from that region. I think, Dr. Machar, you can help us here. The Sun City Talks produced a document that was signed by President Kagame and all other stakeholders from Congo who were there, and President Joseph Kabila at that time, also a guarantor of the agreement. Just a simple thing. They both agreed that there will be cessation of hostilities, and they will ensure that what was contained in that document will be implemented. I am I am begging you, all of you who are on this platform at this moment, please go and look at that document. Dr. Machar, you can share that document. And I am going to ask you, Kennedy, that Dr. Machar tell us about that document. The person who has a good collection or recollection of that document is the former South African President Thabo Mbeki. That document, if it can be implemented, I think we can see progress in the DRC. It was an African solution from Africans, mainly the Congolese themselves, because there was a clear understanding that only the Congolese can talk about their future because they understand the process and the problems. Countries can come and support. And it was clear that a military can never be a solution. So I'm going to make a humble appeal that Kennedy, just give Dr. Machari 2 minutes to tell you about that process. And I can see the gentleman that spoke, he has his hand up. He might possibly know about that document. He might have been there. The other issue of President Tshisekedi, he never won the elections. We know the first elections. We all know. He never won the elections. It was President Kabila who pushed him to get into power. Now, the last election, this one, we know many areas couldn't participate in the elections. I remember experts coming from that election who were monitoring the election, having a press conference in Pretoria, the academics, people with no interest, saying the elections were not free and fair. So immediately we knew that it was going to be problematic. So I'm saying that Sun City document, who can push to ensure that by the time they meet under the auspice of the AU, facilitated by the president of Angola, that document is on the table. Please, Kennedy, can you
Yes.
ask Dr. Matar?
Th-
He was there.
Thank you very much, Kennedy. Kennedy, can I just 2 minutes? I will summarize because I was present in Sun City, and I just want to thank President Thabo Mbeki, the former president of South Africa, for all efforts. Because I was, if you can notice that every place where,
Yes, Dr. Mashanga.
yes, are you there? Am I being heard?
Dr. Machar, proceed.
Yes.
Kennedy says no,
Every,
proceed.
I want to tell you the truth on this platform, and I am taking. Thank you very much, Sophie, for bringing up this and Kenyan. Every conflict where Thabo Mbeki has touched, it has never resurrected. Never. Thabo Mbeki, Chisano, their analysis of Africa's problem, their conflicts have never resurrected. Look at Erare, Chisano, Matsanga, Museveni. We finished it. Konyi can disappear and die wherever he wants to die or wherever he can be captured. But he has not a problem to us anymore. Look at Darfur, Thabo Mbeki. We were on the plane suffering for Darfur. They have just spoiled it. They spoiled Khartoum, but not Darfur. Look at Madagascar, Kisano, Matsanga. These are the places where we have gone, where we have walked. Nobody can blame us again. With Kisano, we managed that DJ man. The Sun City Agreement is one of the best documents ever produced out of the Congo conflict. It was between the ICD. By then it was ICD, not M23. ICD of Rorad Nkunda, my friend. You know, it was a well-organized document that could culminate, it could create dialogue among the Congolese themselves as Congolese without anybody else coming in. They can share their minerals. They can even tax us, put taxes, tariffs. You know, Congo would be like America today, tariffs, you know. Trump says he'll give 200% tariffs for every wine bottle that enters US. Congo could do that if they followed some of these agreements. That Sun City agreement, thank you, Sophie, is the best agreement, and it talks about transformation of the Congolese situation, the political, the economic, the social. We would not be having a 240 standing armies mushrooming. Even if you solve M23, ladies and gentlemen, even if you capture Kagame, even if you say, how many people, do you know what? In this Amsterdam here, where we are, there are more Congolese in the jail from Congo than any other country in Africa. At the ICC jail, a few meters away from ICC headquarters. But has it solved the problem? No. No. Thomas Rubanga, Ntagana Bosco Ntagana, Pierre Bemba, the man I had to go and fight for. Thanks God he's keeping quiet in this because he has learned a lesson. His lips were white while he was in jail there. I had to fight Matanga. I had to fight every day out, standing outside ICC, going there with Bazungu wanting to kill me because of Pierre Bemba, saying why haven't you arrested Bozize, who
Mhm.
called Pierre Bemba? So the Sun City Agreement, who is one of the best documents. If Congolese, that's why I was telling you, Wale can look at those documents. Insert what I have done wrong or what I've done right in my document. My document talks about some sort of centralized, organized, no elitism administration, which was Professor Dr. Always stated, also view that if we have a central government that runs the affairs of this country, nobody is going to dismantle it. But at the moment, the center can not hold anymore.
Okay.
Let's go back
Okay.
to the Sun City Agreement, which is very clear. It was made for interest of Congo. The Congolese can go back and put it before you. I will forward it to the facilitators tonight in about 21 hour to come. I will send it to Kenyatta
Okay.
people to see whether they can look at it and then
Okay, Dr. Machanga.
bring something out. Thank you very much, Sophie, for bringing this out. And
Oh, okay. Okay.
that's all.
Oh,
Thanks.
stay there. Thank you, Dr. Machanga. Stay there. I want to just pick Zito on one issue, just briefly, and then I continue the rest of the speakers here. Zito, there are those who say the situation, there's fragility of the situation at the moment, and there is no assurance that the situation is going to be better, even as SADC withdraws from Eastern DRC. How does President Tshisekedi balance between continuing to fight the M23 and at the same time also ensuring that they do not advance? Because there's a lot of fragility at the moment and despondency among the people.
Thank you so much, Kennedy. A lot of things. I was listening. One thing that there are things that I don't agree with the old man who just spoke, because his examples of Yugoslavia that he gave
Why don't
earlier.
you call me an elder than old man? Hey, boss, where?
Can you, can you give us a chance to speak? We listen to you.
Yeah,
We
but
keep
you are
quiet when
calling
you
me an
speak.
old man, bwana. Where?
Are you not old man? Okay, but because you have everything we mentioned here, you say you were there. Sun City, you were
Yes,
there.
but I was.
Nkunda, you were
I
there.
was.
So it means you're an old man if you were
You
there
say
everywhere.
elder.
Where we
Wewe Mtanzania, wewe
let
wacha kelele yako wewe.
basi, acha tumalize basi kuongea na wewe
Wewe na
usubiri na sisi
mzee,
tuongee.
nakuomba tafadhali. Old man is an insult.
Kennedy,
Dr.
basi
Machanga, Dr. Machanga, stay there. Stay there, Dr. Machanga allows Zito to finish.
An old man. What about
yeah,
it? Ah,
yeah. Okay, Dr. Mashanga, there are things that he mentioned that it is very important that we debunk. When he mentions Yugoslavia, he stopped saying what's going on now in Yugoslavia. War, war, war. There are even some of the countries that declared independence. They are not recognized up to now. Kosovo is not recognized. Bosnia Herzegovina is fighting every day. We just had that part of Bosnia has declared its own independence, or they want to join Serbia. All the whole Balkan area is not peaceful, is not stable up to now. So it cannot be a good example. And when you talk about comparing Congo and Yugoslavia, it means you are talking about balkanization of the Congo. And I don't think any African who calls himself African should even think of a balkanized Congo. I think the most important thing is the supporting and enabling DRC to build its capacity, especially on defense and security. that it has failed to do so since independence, which is very shameful. But the chance is there. It can do so with the support of the neighbors, because nobody really benefit in a long term. You can benefit in a short term, but nobody benefits in a long term with unstable Congo. I remember when I was a student at the University of Dar es Salaam in 2002. Dr. Salim Ahmed Salim was finishing his term at the OAU when OAU was turning into the African Union. And a group of students went to his house to pay courtesy to welcome him back home. And I remember a sentence that is always in my head all the time. He told us, stable Congo, democratic South Africa, and growing Nigeria economically. Once you have these three countries on the right track, nobody would touch the African continent. And these words keep coming to me all the time. And the words to underline is stable Congo, because Congo cut across the continent, and Congo and Tanzania combined is like from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean. So once you have unstable Congo, you will have no part of Africa that is stable, because this instability go beyond the Great Lake region, go beyond the SADC or East African Community area. So President Tshisekedi, definitely, to answer you, Kennedy, has decided clearly. If you look at it, any student of politics, any student of geopolitics, any student of military politics, and now understands that President Tshisekedi has resigned into governing the Western Congo. That is the Lingala speaking area. That is the Kasai area, the Bakongo area, the Equator, and the lights. This is what you see, and we just have to closely observe Congo. We will see Manyema falling, Kalemi, the Tanganyika province falling, Haut Katanga falling, and the whole former Katanga falling. Because you clearly see that there is no strategy. And whether SADC forces had continued to be there or not, it makes no difference, because they are not fighting. They are there. They were held there. So the vacuum is already there. But the thing that has to worry us the most as Africans, as people from the East Africa, from the Southern Africa, the thing that has to worry us most is the fact that for many years, for many years, Eastern Congo has a mushroom of rebel groups. There are more than 100 rebel groups. Every single chief in that country, every single tribe, every single territory in that country has its own rebel group. So the moment the FRDC, the Congolese army, is not there, there is no semblance of the international army, that means MONUSCO or SADC army, then that means these rebels will cause havoc to the population. And this is what has been happening for many years. All these areas, Fizi area, Moba area, Kalemi area, all these areas, for many years, the rebel groups have been terrorizing people. These rebel groups are now armed. They have been given arms and some sort of trainings by the Congolese government. These are what they are called Wazalendo. So now they are armed. So you can imagine the kind of terror that will go against the civilians, against the people in the eastern Congo. So to me, I see as a politician, as a person who follow closely Congo, as a person coming from Kigoma, which borders Congo, longest border line across Lake Tanganyika with Congo. I see to it that it is back to Mobutu era. Mobutu decided to govern Western Congo. Tshisekedi has decided to govern Western Congo and let the Eastern Congo, the Swahili-speaking people, do whatever they want to do with on their own. He will just try to cling on Katanga because Katanga's revenue run the government in Kinshasa. But rebels will run fast to take Katanga. So very soon you'll see Lubumbashi going falling, and once they control Katanga, the old Katanga with all the current 4 provinces now, and everything will be over. And we shall not underestimate the Western interests. The US and the European Union now are talking about Lobito Corridor. Lobito Corridor is there in order to deny China with resources through Dar es Salaam corridor. So this thing of the mineral deal, that's why I want every single African to pay much attention to the so-called mineral deal that the DRC government is offering to the US. It is playing on the hands of the East-West competition. Today, 60% of the cobalt mining areas, all mines, 60% of the cobalt mines in DRC are owned by China. And everyone here knows the importance of cobalt in the world, the importance of the supply of cobalt into the EV and the new technologies. And the US once, because the US was delayed into the game, the EU was delayed into the game. And you can see the reaction now on the DRC from the Western capitals, from Brussels, from Berlin, from London, and the offer to Washington about the mineral deal, and put into it or juxtapose all that with the Lobito corridor in order to provide an alternative route to the Atlantic rather than using the Indian Ocean. And that's where Tanzania comes in. For a long time, Tanzania played a passive role in the eastern DRC, although us and Angola and Zambia have the longest border with the DRC. Tanzania shares like 500 kilometers of border along Lake Tanganyika, very porous border. Tanzania has been playing a passive role into this crisis. But I've written somewhere, I've written on the Chanzo, somebody can go and just Google and get it from the Chanzo. Almost half of all transit goods passing through the port of Dar es Salaam to neighboring countries, to all neighboring countries that border Tanzania, 50% goes to Congo. So the moment Congo turns west, Lobito is constructed. Forget Dar es Salaam port. Forget all these investments that Tanzanian government has done, all the SGR, the port infrastructure and everything. Forget it. 50% of the transit goods. And I've told some of the government officials that in history, countries have gone to war to protect their trade routes. So I don't think if Tanzania will continue to be this passive. And for countries like Tanzania and Zambia especially, these should be the countries to have much interest into the stability of Congo because Zambia Congo share the copper belt. This side and this side. You can see the the map of the Congo and Zambia. The Wazungu continued to redefine that border, the borderline between Congo and Zambia, for many years. Some of the border areas were completed 30 years after independence of these two countries, but they share the same.
Mhm.
So I think there must be a defense agreement or security agreement that Congo must enter with countries that have been neutral for all these years, and this is Tanzania and Zambia, to rebuild its army, to rebuild its police, to rebuild its security agency, and if West come to West, or if it, for me, and I've said it publicly, I'm not even ashamed to talk about it. Congo and Tanzania must federate, form one federal republic from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, and that will be the solution for all the problems that we are talking about Congo. Thank you so much, Kennedy.
Thank you so much, Zito. Uh,
Kennedy, can I come in?
uh, maybe are you able? Do you want to react to what Zito has said, or just a continuation of your submission? Because
Just a brief reaction. It aligns well with what Zero is saying, and I have to agree, Kennedy, and we have to amplify this as well. When Eastern DRC is burning, it's not just a Congolese problem. And I've had a lot of our Congolese brothers saying that, we should leave it to them to sort it out. But as much as they're the ones on the front lines and they're suffering directly, the indirect cost come to the entire region, and especially the East African region, because you've had Dr. Matsanga saying, you've had Zito saying that when there is conflict, there is displacement. Let's not just talk about the business and the minerals. The displacement is occurring. And all of these refugees, I was just reading a report from UNHCR, 5.8 million refugees from Congo into the EAC, into Uganda, into Tanzania, into Burundi, into Rwanda, into Kenya. you know we are bearing the cost, because when they come into our countries, we have to take care of them. We have to look for somewhere to set them up and to give them supplies, to make sure they are eating well, to make sure they're taken care of, mental health, blankets, and even all the way up to relocation to safer places. So it's not just a Congolese problem. This is a problem for the entire region. I would speak for Kenya, because we've had a lot of problems with hosting refugees. We've hosted Somalia refugees for almost 30 years now, from Dadaab camp to Kakuma camp. Right now, if you go to Kakuma camp and Dadaab camp, you find Congolese and Burundians in those camps. We are taking care of them with the Kenyan budget. And you would know that we don't have a big budget like, Egypt, Algeria, or even South Africa. So this problem, actually, it is training us as well. It doesn't just stop at
Exactly.
Congolese, you know. So we really have to look at this in a wholesome way. We say, fine, you don't want us to go and help you and intervene and maybe have a say in this conflict, but then it is affecting us, your people, the ones who are suffering. They're coming into our regions, our territories. So let us look at this wholesomely, and propose solutions to how to handle it in a way that, it does not pressure other countries in the region who might not be allowed to have a say in this conflict. And I also want to say one other thing. Congolese people, we had a space here, and I really appreciated that space, Kennedy. And one of my concerns was, increasingly, and I might be wrong, but increasingly it looks like we are not hearing so much from the Congolese people. Are they comfortable with this? Clearly not. But then why are they not holding their government to account? Why are they? We are not. I don't know if it's happening internally and it's not making itself, into the news in mainstream media. But we are not hearing people from Kinshasa asking their government, "Hey, look, this thing is affecting us. What are you doing about it?" It's high time that we all become sober. We know the history. We know the history. We cannot be holding another space from space from space talking about Mobutu. Yes, we know what he did. We know how it has affected the current situation. But then here we are. Here we are. We need to do something about it. So let us hear more of Congolese people holding their government to account of what it is doing. If they are tired of the Eastern region, these are Swahili speakers. These are our people. These are our brothers. I speak the same language with the people from Kivu. My mother tongue is the same. We share the same lineage. These are our people. If you don't want them, give them to us. We don't have a problem with them. If anything, we've been housing them for a very long time, from the 60s when this trouble start. So be clear. Tell us, you know what? Tshisekedi should say this. I am tired of the Eastern region. We will say, okay, we can, if you are not able to govern it, we can find a solution. The Somali region has been fighting for the longest time, and we had to come up with a solution. And right now, that country has been federalized, not balkanized, but put into a federal system where each region is able to
Thank
govern
you.
itself,
Thank
you know.
you.
And we did a trial. This is what we did, Kennedy, because we and Kenya and Ethiopia had the longest border with Somalia. That conflict affected us much more than it affected anybody else in the continent. And we had to come up with a solution, a federal state. We had to give it a trial. We did interim administrations in that region, and it proved to be working. Right now, Somalia is stable. Somalia is even in the UN Security Council. It can be able to offer its, lessons learned from how they were able to come out of that conflict. We cannot continue bearing the cost of the conflict, yet we are told it's not affecting us. Thank you so much, Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you so
Now,
much. Thank you so
eh,
much.
I
Hold
want
on, Dr.
to get,
Machanga. Hold on.
I want to go and sleep.
Hold,
I'm an old man. An
hold on.
old man who wants to go to sleep.
Fine, stay there.
Someone has told.
Stay there. I want
No,
to say, hold on, Dr.
just
Machanga.
2 minutes, 1 minute, and I go,
I'll
sir.
come
Please, I'm
shortly. I just
tired.
want to take a short break. I want to take a short interlude. Uh, I want to
No,
take,
no break.
No, no break.
no,
No
what-
break, you are there.
we've been here 3 hours and running.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
let
no
I
people
should
break.
speak,
No break.
hold
Kennedy.
on.
Let me.
Listen,
You take a break. You take a break. Let people
hold
speak
on.
because we're not gonna finish.
No, what I'm saying, we are going to take a short interlude here, and then I'm going to return.
Hauna
Hold
itia
on.
next moment.
And then I'm going to return with the reflections from Thabo Mbeki on DRC. That's what, so that then we build on what we have here. That is a short interlude, and come
Okay.
with the,
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Two
yeah.
minutes.
That's enough. That's enough. One should be
Yes.
enough. Hold on.
At least, my sense of federalism is coming.
Hold on, Dr. Machanga. We've been here 3 hours running. Okay. Ushima. Vyakutondi mbingani. Kaka, malu woso byakasanda. Byantonye, yo yo byantonye kasanda. Byantonye, yo yo byantonye kasanda. Mama mokonzi, etite ici, nakamisi tango tozalaki kopina na remu kare. Antonio, Casanda. Antonio, Casanda. Antonio, Casanda. Antonio, Casanda. Antonio, Casanda. Antonio, Casanda.
Problem in the Congo. But there's a problem in the Congo which has not been resolved up to today, to the Great Lakes, not the Great Lakes, to the Eastern Congo, is that there's a problem in the Congo which has not been resolved up to today. I'm talking about the DRC. We're back to that NDR I was talking about. As you know, part of the population in the Eastern Congo is Rwanda speaking, Banyamulenge. That the Banyamulenge are Congolese. They might be Rwanda speaking, but these are Congolese. And it's the responsibility of any government in Kinshasa to look after this section of the Congolese population like any other. But you remember what happened during the Mobutu years? Mobutu took the position that these are foreigners. It's like the South Africans here saying, I mean, they're Tswana-speaking people here in the Northwest. And suddenly we, the rest of the country says, those are not South Africans, they must go to Botswana. It's what happened in the Congo case. That's how you had the Mai Mai emerge in Eastern Congo. The Mai Mai were specifically targeting the Banyamulenge to drive them out of the Congo into Rwanda. But I'm saying it's a responsibility of the central government in the Congo to look after this population, which is Congolese. It's not Rwandan. It's Congolese. It's Rwandan speaking. That's the first problem. The second problem is that the administrative footprint of the government in Kinshasa does not reach the east. So you find a part that is part of the country which has got a very light experience of being governed by the government in Kinshasa. The country is very big. So you have a weak government, weak imprint of the government on the east. It means other forces emerge and take over. You see the M23. You can't avoid the phenomenon of the M23 as the government of the Congo unless you say we, the Congolese government, will protect the Banyamulenge because these are Congolese. If you don't say that, allowing other people to do as they wish towards the Banyamulenge, then M23 will continue to exist. Because they will get arms to defend themselves. So it's the same, is that problem in the Kivus of that weak imprint of the government, and then goes up to the Ituri and then those areas. we discussed that with President Joseph Kabila. It's your responsibility to look after these people in the East. You remember during the negotiations here at Sun City, you had three armed groups. You had the government armed group, you had Bamba's armed group, you had the third one, led by an advocate, which was basically representing the Banyamuleng. It was agreed, it was part of the negotiators, it's Congolese, and no problem. Even after the conclusion of the negotiations, there were discussions about how to integrate them properly into the government of the Congo and all of that. But that process collapsed somewhere. So I'm saying, my brother, what we need to do with regard to the Eastern Congo is President Tshisekedi should say to everybody, I'm president of the Congo, and I'm president of all of the people of the Congo, including the Banyamuleng. And then they just need to do whatever they can, the government in Kinshasa, really to improve its capacity to govern the eastern part of the Congo. The other thing we then did, my brother, in that context, we brought together President Kabila and President Paul Kagame to say, you need to govern your relationship in a particular way. Because part of the problem, as you know, is that the people who had committed genocide in Rwanda ran over to the Eastern Congo. And so the people in Rwanda are saying those ones you are accommodating there, they are the ones who want to kill us. They've killed us already, they want to kill us some more. So how do you govern this relationship? So we negotiated an agreement, or let me say they negotiated an agreement about how to interact with each other. Because you can't disentangle them, the Rwanda and the DRC. Agreed, and the thing was signed. I think it collapsed along the way. But you need that, you need those processes. As I was saying, the government of the Congo to take charge of the Eastern Congo, all of it. Then we need an agreement between the DRC, Uganda, and Rwanda in particular, to govern the relations among those three. I think that's what you need in order to resolve the problem in the Eastern Congo.
Okay. I think you've got something out of that. That is South Africa's former president Thabo Mbeki, just trying to bring us to speed what happened at the Sun City, and it looked like a deal. I don't know where it went wrong. I don't know if there's some reaction to us here in the audience, but let me pick these hands that are up here. Let me start with Ruth Mtamba, and then I take Rwanda. Jerry Kakala, and Nondo Mialano, as well as King Solomon, in that order, and then I try to bring another panel, but I'll go back to I bring in other speakers, but I'll now go to my panelists here. Let's go in that order. Ruth.
Yeah, Kennedy, after that word,
Thank
I
you
would
so
like
much.
to react as well to that. Yeah?
Yes.
After that word, I would like to react to the Sun City
Okay.
issue.
Good. Ruth, proceed.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kennedy. I hope everyone can hear me very well.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to talk the Congolese who are here, but with love, not with hate. You guys don't blame your neighbors for your insecurity. If you know that in the DRC there is no peace, then you need to sit down and look for a suitable solution. without involving external partners. Blaming Kenya and Museveni won't help anything. My suggestion would be for you to sit down and address the M23 issue and decide how you can rebuild your country peacefully. You can't keep blaming people all the time. You need to take responsibility. Just let me give you a simple example. If you know that there are thieves who come to steal from your house once, twice, thrice, and so on, would you blame others for not taking good care of your house, or would you find a way to protect and guard it? This is the same with your country. If you want your country to be safe, you must find peace by any means possible. The M23 are Congolese. Why would you keep blaming them, saying M23 this, M23 that? Why allowing your president to stand by and avoid dealing with his own people? How can you ever expect to have peace if you continue to act like that? Like, that's my question that I have. And my take in this is and will always be, Congo needs a serious president and government. Involving the SADC, EU, or sanctioning others won't solve anything. You keep talking about sanctions, but trust me, that won't help. There was a statement made by Jerry Paul Kagame and faced international courts. Even though that may never happen, but even if it did, it wouldn't solve anything. When it comes to security in the DRC, you keep pointing fingers at Rwanda and Kagame, but they have nothing to do with even your problems. If you want to understand your history, go ask Professor Rumam about what was done by King Leopold. Was that President Paul Kagame? Also ask late Che Guevara to tell you what DRC has gone through. These are the deep, painful stories that show you the complex situation in your country. My suggestion is, please vote for a serious president and a good government. If not, you will lead yourselves without any leader, and you are very tired of your endless blaming. As I'm concluding, I believe that moving away from the conflict zone is important. A country can't achieve peace on its own if it doesn't take responsibility. SADC has tried to help, but has seen that they're losing rather than gaining from their involvement. And I really support the decision that they made to step away. I really support that. I mean, all of them. The next thing is for Congolese leadership to deal with its own people and with its own problems. If Congo doesn't ensure its own security, it can't rely on others. If you believe that PK and Museveni are the problems, as many of you say, then it's up to you to secure your borders and to prevent them from entering. If not, you will continue blaming them while they will remain safe in their own country, as they always have. Kennedy, thank you so much. We have a lot on this, but let me just cut it short. Thank you so much and have a good night. A good night.
Yeah,
Thank
Kennedy,
you.
I also want to go home.
Thank you.
Can I say that? Thank you
Thank you,
very much,
Kennedy. You
all of
said
you.
right after Ruth, I could speak. Professor
Okay,
Muchanga, I'm sorry, I'll be very short. Don't worry about that.
okay, all right.
Let me thank Kennedy and everybody in here. I'm a Congolese from DRC. Thank you, Ruth, for your submission. I agree with you on that we need a strong leadership. And the first failure Congo has and the consequence of SADC withdrawing from Congo is a poor leadership from Tshisekedi, a weak or non-international politics or clear international policy about what should lead and beacon Congolese relations with other countries. That is a matter of fact. However, saying Kagame, Museveni are not part of the problem, that is misunderstanding or misrepresenting the issue. I will tackle a few things. First of all, Ms. Eve, Congo doesn't have 5.6 million refugees across East Africa. That's not correct. We have less than a million. I don't know if Ruth is speaking. Okay. So we have less than a million across the continent, and we have more than 5 million internally displaced people. And you can't say you are bearing the responsibility when your leaders are causing the chaos in Congo. It's like Dr. Mchanga saying, oh, Ugandans are welcoming Congolese. Not. Museveni is causing chaos in Congo. And you can go check his son's tweet and what you said. You were proudly saying,
in
proudly
my
saying,
country, Wandera,
please, Dr. Muchanga,
Rwandese,
excuse me. Dr.
my
Muchanga,
country
please,
is in
excuse me.
Congo official. Please, we got an
Dr.
agreement
Muchanga,
with
do you want me to
Tshisekedi.
speak, please? Suffer
Dr.
first other
allow
people to
him to finish.
speak. Otherwise, we not have a discussion, Dr. Muchanga.
We should be audible.
Please, wait your time. Is in Congo and Uganda is called chaos. Don't let me remember you what Uganda and Rwanda did in Kisangani, the 8 days war where two countries fought in somebody else's territory. So let's understand things globally and let's not be selective. You were asking if there is only one Rwandan or Rwandese who has been captured. So Mr. Pukasi and I guess it was Tizo who told you Taganda is Rwanda, is Rwandese or Rwandan, I don't know, whatever you're gonna choose, who was born in Rwanda, but he kept saying, I prefer to either identify myself as a Congolese, but even said he's a Rwandan first. So let's be globalistic, holistic when we analyze this issue because we want a lasting peace in the region. If we want a lasting peace in the region, we have to address the elephant in the room. Now, going back to Kennedy's question, so what's forward? What's forward is Congo should reorganize itself. You have to understand in which context SADC withdrew. A week ago or 2 weeks ago, one of key players in Congolese politics, the previous president, former president Kabila, had an interview in the media. He said what is happening today. He said South Africa should withdraw. You guys should let Congolese talk to each other. We understand. What we understand, we should talk to each other. But when we look at M23 issue, you don't take it as they are only Congolese. Why they are M23? Where are they coming from? The fact that Mbeki is saying Congolese, let me give you a good news. We Congolese, accept all 14 million Rwandans to come to Congo. We'll never be overpopulated or saturated. It will never be any issue. We have a very, very big land. So presenting things like we don't want some and others, it's completely wrong. Anybody who would like to contest what I'm saying, to contend what I'm saying, please bring me the piece of law which says we are denying nationality or citizenship to Banyamulengers. Bring just one piece of law. Because these are things which have been spoken over and over, but they are just lies. The fact that they come out of a former president's mouth does not make them a gospel, does not make them credible. That's a pure fact. I wrote a couple of points because people were speaking and I waited very, very, very long just to speak.
Okay.
So I was saying, Congo, Kennedy, I'm about to land.
Just 20 seconds, please.
Yeah, you're fine. So Congo has many things to address. And one of those things is to not go back to where we are coming from. People said here, ICD, not. We're not going back to ICD because remember, Dr. Muchanga may be supportive of ICD because MLC was backed by Uganda, RCD was backed by Rwanda. We're not going there. We have institutions. What you heard, Dr. Muchanga, MLC was backed by Uganda, RCD was backed by Rwanda.
Matanga, you are accusing a man who is innocent. Now, let me tell you, my brother.
So my conclusion on this, no. We need a stronger leadership in Congo. We need honesty between leaders. And Dr. Changa, you were very clear on that. Honesty between leaders. And on top of everything, we have to make sure Dictator
Oh,
Terence Kagame and Museveni starved their thirst of blood and intend to extend their territory beyond what it is today. And we can live together in peace as long as we respect each country's uh, leadership, each country's territory, and we refuse one tribe to become a reason why other people can
okay.
come loot and kill. The
Okay.
double standard of saying Congolese should talk, but let Rwandan kill other Rwandans in Congo does not make any sense. If everybody should talk to each other, then Rwandan should also talk to FDLR instead of saying Congolese, M23 is killing you, but just talk to them.
Okay, Jerry.
Kennedy, let me.
Dr. Machanga, what I have to say, it's also regarding you. I think, please, if you can allow me to speak, then maybe you can capture what my brother just said before and respond to mine as well. Sorry, Kennedy, to jump in.
Who is this one again?
I am Valerian Dena. Nice meeting
Oh,
you, Dr. Machanga. Yes.
Validian. I am not
Yes.
head of state in Africa. Why are you?
Hold,
Why are you
hold on,
pointing?
hold on, hold on, hold on. Who is next?
Validian is okay. I'm ready. I'm ready
No.
for anything.
Okay, let's have. Where are the other ones? Where is Nondo and the King Solomon? Because
I'm here. King Solomon is here, please.
Nondo is not there. Proceed, King Solomon.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
here. I thought it was after King Solomon.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you so
proceed,
much,
Nondo.
Kennedy.
Nondo, proceed.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you is it my turn or the King Solomon? So I can speak.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kennedy, for holding this space. I am Congolese. I was born in the Fizi area, which is in the southern South Kivu region. I really appreciate you guys holding this space. I'm sorry, I'm using my phone as a GPS. I'm driving, so if you are hearing any other voice, just forgive that for a minute. Um, the issue in the Congo is way beyond just Tshisekedi or just people asking the Congolese people to sit down and talk. You know, there is a world responsibility into what's happening in Congo right now, and also African responsibilities as well as the Congolese government responsibilities. I like what I'm forgetting the name of the person who brought this thing up of African and leaders being dishonest. Leaders in Africa, especially in the regions, are not being honest with each other when it comes to dealing with the issue in the Congo. When they go into these meetings, everybody has picked sides, and that's what makes this thing very difficult. I grew up with Banyamulenge because I mean we lived with these people peacefully with no issue, and I will concur with what my brother said about just who can show any document indicating or showing that the Banyamulenge have been denied citizenship. There's no document. The Congolese constitution says everybody who was in the Congo at the independence in 1960 is a Congolese. That's that's the bottom line of everything. Everyone who was in the Congo at that time has the right and is a Congolese. So all these narratives of the Congolese, the Banyamulenge being discriminated against, being denied citizenship, is not true. Is not true. And if it were true, I mean, we know how these African borders are. You know, if you look at Tanzania and Kenya, you have the Masai in Tanzania, you have the Masai in Kenya. If the Maasai in Kenya felt discriminated, will that be a reason for them to go and call Tanzania to come and fight for them? No. And this is why this war in Congo is setting very, very dangerous precedents because it telling people that any tribe in Congo or in Africa, whenever they feel discriminated or marginalized, they can run to a foreign government and go and come attack their own country. If they feel, if the my brothers, the Banyamulenge or any other Tuts people in the Tutsi community feel marginalized, I mean, we can talk. We have ways that we've talked. We've been talking as Congolese people. Why being put on a picture or being shown in a trailer that you are not participating in a movie? Because we know these are bigger than what they are showing us. And even the Rwanda or Uganda, what we're blaming today, they are being as well being used for by people, by forces greater than us. And it's a problem that the colonizer have instilled in the African people is self-hate. We hate our own. We hate Africans. We hate ourselves. And that's the problem. That's why the Congolese war and any other African war are just going on and on and on. It's African continent. If it's not Congo, it's Somali. If it's not Somali, it's Sudan. If it's not Sudan, is Ethiopia. It's just going on and on and on. And we keep killing each other to the benefit of the rest of the rich people who are benefiting from these conflicts. When you have leaders, I listened to an interview that President Ruto was talking about the Congolese when he was a candidate, referring an entire country, an entire population as people wanafunga misipi, just these people wa kufunga misipi juu ya tumbo. That is very demeaning to an entire population. And so when you have those perspective about an entire country, and then you come to them as somebody who want to be a peacemaker, everybody will look at you and question: Do you really are you really genuine in trying to make to help us make peace? Peace, where he said, I talked to President Kagame, and he said he is not involved in this war. When two leaders are talking and you are trying to be neutral, you don't take those positions. You don't take, because when you publicly say that as a leader, it tells the rest, the other side, that you've taken your position. And when you come then to try to um, broke peace or bring peace, people will have questions of your motives. And so as Africans, I think we need to look at what's happening in Congo from a broader perspective, not just um, Congo against Rwanda or Congo against M23 or anything like that. It's more than that. It's beyond that. It's an African thing. It's a regional thing. We need our leaders have to be genuine when they go to these meetings and they look at each other. I know when um there's at some point President Kikwete said something around what my brother said. If Congo is being pushed to talk to M23, why isn't Rwanda being asked to speak to FDLR? And you saw what happened, how Rwanda treated Kikwete at that time. And those are the problems that we are facing in this war. Is everybody coming and pointing fingers at Congo? Talk to these M23. Yes, Congolese can talk to these M23. They have talked to M23 in the past. Kabila talked to M23. And so if M23 participated in that wasn't respected, now they're asking from today's government. Yes, Tshisekedi has shown and proven that his leadership is not effective, but we shouldn't look at Tshisekedi as the only person who can bring solutions to this to this
Okay,
conflict.
okay.
there are more than what we can. And our brothers from Rwanda, you cannot run from this, because if you look at James Kabarebe was the chief of staff of the Congolese army. And the next we know, and he was in that position as a Congolese. And next we know he is a defense minister from in Rwanda. So you can see there's a lot of those mixtures that have happened in through the peace process that has led to the Congolese army being weakened. And it has been that intentionally other countries have wanted to keep the Congolese army where it is right now to their own
Uh,
benefit. So we should look at it as an African problem, not just as a Congolese
oh,
problem. And that's where we will find
okay,
solutions.
the point made. Thank you, Nondo. Next is who?
I was listening. Yes.
Next
Thank you so much.
is King who?
Yeah,
King Solomon.
yeah,
And let's
yeah,
try to
thank
be
you.
a little bit brief, because if we speak for 10 minutes or five,
Mm,
we are going to sleep here and wake up while here. Yeah. So
mm,
let's keep it short. 2 minutes or 1 minute will just be enough for you to make your contribution, instead of um, discussing what also other people have already spoken.
mm.
So let's
For
one
sure.
minute, 2 minutes. That should be enough. Proceed, King Solomon.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kennedy. Thank you so much, Sophie, and everyone who is here. We are here as children and grandchildren of our founding fathers who fought so much to have Africa united. What is happening in Congo is so tragic. You know, I'm talking to you as a victim of violence, but also as someone who has been observing what has been happening in Congo, as someone who has done work in Congo, where it is so multifaceted. It is not just a one-way thing. It's not black and white. So I think, to be brief, as the host has stated, what I can say, what is the main cause? What's the root cause of this conflict? I think it is so complex to the point that you don't know which causes which. But I can say, in my opinion, I think it is the ethnic violence that exists, that has been exploited, and now it causes, it fuels the mineral conflict. I think without minerals, the violence would not have had the magnitude it has right now. So it is there is at least at the base there is a problem. I disagree with my brother Nondo that Banyamulenge are not discriminated. They are discriminated. You know, kama unapenda, I believe you speak Swahili if you're from Bukavu. I can send you pictures of people being lynched. You know, there is even cases of cannibalism in the broad daylight. If a Munyamulenge is in the army, is being treated as a traitor. They are scapegoats for every bad things that happen in the army. Okay, so that exists. Of course, I agree with you that going to a foreign country to ask for help will address it in Congo. No, it won't happen. That will not help. It is the Congolese government. I think someone spoke of a legislation. You know, over the past few years, we have had a serious issue in Congo when it comes to the discrimination against minorities. You know, the Congolese political discourse, the media and the academia, just members of the community have intellectualized discrimination, racism against the Tutsi people. You know, when these people have nothing to do with Kagame. They are just daily, you know, they are normal Congolese citizens going after their daily lives, but they are being called all sorts of names, killed, and this. I think that has to stop, you know. And also now it comes to the minerals. So the M23 is the largest and the most powerful of all the rebel groups operating in Congo right now. But it's not the only one. There are more than 120 others terrorizing Congolese civilians, but none of that get mentioned. In my home province of Ituri, for example, you have the Ugandan army there, which is doing a disservice. We have, the region is so rich in gold, but we don't even have refinery. The refineries are in Uganda. So you have a lot of looting of Congolese minerals. That's even fueling, I think, the ethnic conflicts that are going on in Congo. So this has to stop. You have all these other armed groups that don't get mentioned, and I agree. When it comes to the whole notion of looking African solutions to the African problems, I think our government, the government of Mr. Tshisekedi, has done a disservice. They have been going to Europe, going to the United Nations Security Council, making all these great presentations, but they are not complete. Okay, how can you go to the United Nations Security Council and you present the security crisis that's impacting your country, but you only focus on one group? How do you think the solution they are going to give you will help you? How can you? I think it would have been much better to give a comprehensive presentation. I think to conclude, the current government has manifested a lot of incompetence, generally speaking. We need to have a strong government, and I agree with Mr. Nondo that the neighboring countries have been also dishonest. That has to be mentioned. You can't use the communal relations, historical affinities, and maybe other crises happening in the neighboring country to intervene militarily. I think the minority groups ask this for desperation, out of desperations, because their own government has abandoned them. The government is dysfunctional, but we need to have an African platform, an African talk that emphasizes on strengthening Congolese unity and also respecting the Congolese territorial integrity. But inside Congo, I like a speaker who spoke earlier. I think he's called Revolution or something. Tshisekedi did not win the elections. And I agree with Muse Pukas, who also spoke here. We all supported Martin Fayulu. He won the elections. Tshisekedi has been nominated consecutively. So he didn't win the elections. And now he actually plunged the country into a pandemonium. We need to stop this. I think someone spoke of Congolese trying to ensure that we get the right leadership. So we build strong institutions so that even our neighbors can respect us. In international relations, people say, the global community is a self-help one. No one rules over the other. I think if Rwanda is intervening, it's maybe because the Congolese government has been supporting the FDLR, but also, they see Congo as a market. Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya. We don't have industries in Congo. I mean, these people they are not landlocked, like us. They export almost everything. So they are trying to make us vulnerable, to keep us very vulnerable, so that they can keep us as a lucrative market of theirs. And I think this has to stop. That's the dishonesty. If you really want to have a fraternal relationship as Africans, we need to have it in a sincerity, in a win-win situation that benefits all of us. Don't loot my minerals and just sell me, I don't know, toothpaste. That should not be happening. So I think to conclude, we need to have a strong government. That is the starting point. And also, these issues of going abroad to seek for solution for your problem has to stop. And thank you so much, everyone. And God bless you all.
Wandera, I want to go, please. Can I make my summary and depart, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Masanga,
Please,
can I speak
I
before you
want
speak?
Mr. Africa, Mr.
Masanga,
Matsanga to respond to me. So that's why I
Masanga, I have
want you to
something so
intervene.
that you can answer. This is Chacha.
Okay,
It's
thank
Valerian
you.
here. Can I
Okay,
ask
Yeah.
Okay,
first? Can I get the floor
okay,
first, please?
We
okay.
if you are
I
I
going
will
want
to
take
Mr.
ask,
2 minutes.
Matsanga to respond to me because he mentioned about the. Sorry,
I
we
will
were
take.
talking.
hold on,
Yes, Kennedy.
hold on.
Okay,
We want to
okay,
drop.
Wandera,
Hold on.
let them ask their question to me directly. Then I will answer
okay,
directly.
Let's just do that briefly because we have other speakers on the panel and we are running out of time. We want to drop because we've been here for quite long. Let the question just be brief and also the response brief.
Thank you. No, I wanted to go back to the story about Sun City because some mentioned that they were there, and none of what was came up as resolution in Sun City was applied in DRC Congo. I mean, that's also really being dishonest. I'm sorry. If we go back to Kabila's era with the 1+4 governments, which was literally the recommendation that came out of the Sun City, not the only one, but that was applied. And that took us back to the years where we had 4 years of transition of those 1+4 plus reinstallment of our constitution being rewritten in 2006 and then election coming. And that's the political side. Now all that consultation took us to the path of having a very mixed army where all those, let's say, I can call them all back then were armed group, have been now recruited in our national army and have been absorbed in the administration. Some of them got position and so on. So we cannot come here as African and thinking we want to look for solution and we are outlooking what we tried, sorry to call it that way, and did not work. And still here we are sitting. We're calling ourselves to say, let's do the same thing that we did 25 years ago. And let's do it again and hoping this time it's going to work. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm asking you, our elder here. You have been telling us that you have been in all those consultations. You have been consulting. You have been involving all of them. Why it didn't work? Why? That's one thing. Now, the other thing that I wanted to also like to make us all here reflect on. It's just I don't think that you have the answer for all of us here, but to really, really reflect on is the ARC position. I mean, if you are asking Congolese people to own their own government accountable, oh yes, we are. Yes, we are. It was a big fight. We did not want it to join EAC, the Eastern African Community. Why? Not because we hate Swahili. No, 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 no. We love our Swahili people. It was because there were a lot of interest, political, but also all the fragility that happened in the Eastern African countries that we pay the price for. And it's really surprising to me to hear people saying we're talking about Congo as it's the only country in the last 50 years that has gone through those fragility and issues. Let's talk about Kenya. Let's talk about all those countries that went into ethnical issues, ethnical conflict. I don't want to lecture. I mean, we all went to school and had some history school, courses there, where we have seen a lot of issues that happened in Tanzania in the 70s. Yes, still we have issues in the Congo right now because this is the problem of nowadays. But we have come long ways as Africans, as nations. Some of us have learned our lesson. Some others are not. And if we take it to the context of what M23 is trying to attract all the attention of the world and pushing us to go discuss, while we all know if 3 months ago, 2 months ago, Rwanda did not back that group, our dysfunctional army would have killed all of them. Our dysfunctional army would have taken them out of that land. The only reason why they're there is because Rwandan came in. That's what we have to talk about now. Why don't we want to discuss that?
Okay. Okay.
If no other army came in Congo, in the city, I'm not talking about those sitting in the neighboring, in the line of where, let's say, the limit of the country. I'm speaking about those who came in Goma city town, where videos are there showing and they're killing our people with their munitions. And now they come here and tell us we are protecting the borders. Your GPS are lost or what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's not think as if Congolese people are all full out there because you have a Tshisekedi that has been a bit dysfunctional. One thing that we can give that man credit of in his dysfunctional mind, and all of us here as African can agree, is it was the first man after 25 or 28 years that went into Rwanda and told this Kagame, please let be in peace. At least that one he has done. He went to Museveni, did the same thing. He has gone one election, yes or not, and I'm not defending him here. He has not won. But he went there and talked to them for personal interest or whatever. They said they all agree. He took Kagame for the first time after how many years that we have been in this region in conflict. Kagame came in Kinshasa. Do you think all of us were happy to see that? We were not. Many even warned him, don't do that. He said we have to demonstrate that this is what we want. We want peace. We want a Congo of exchange. We have borders. We need to be brothers. They've been calling each other brothers here and there. And now they're killing us and trying to divide us here as we are in the space, making us believe as if this group is stupid, the other group does not trust the other. I am sorry. We are talking about few couple of men here who, for personal interests, have been trying to divide all of us. And some did not see being felt protected by African Union and fled to go to Europe and see for other interests. This is how honest we have to be about those issues. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a question to Matsanga. I think there is a gentleman who had just spoken here with regard to James Kababere. Matsanga, when James Kababere was fighting in Congo, was he fighting in escrow for Rwanda? And how did he get to switch positions if we are to absolve Rwanda of any involvement? That's one question. Number two, during the Goma attack, South African Defense Forces did send some fighter jets. And on their way to Congo, they were warned by Rwanda not to go to Congo, otherwise they were going to be attacked. And Rwanda has invested heavily in terms of their air defense. What interest did Rwanda have that they warned the South African Air Force not to go to Goma if they are not involved? But at the same time, I like the proposal of a federal system. But since 1960s, there have been attempts to actually split Congo. You remember Moise Shombe in Katanga when he wanted to create his own country, 1960s or thereabout, and then came, I think, Albert Kalonje in the side of South Kasai, ostensibly for his Luba tribe people. And then, of course, later 1960s, after the killing of Lumumba, we have Albert Gizenge, I think his name was Gizenge, in Kisangani. So that debate to split Congo is in the interest of who? Is in the interest of the people who want to loot that country. And somebody said that it's only neighbors who are looting the country. I'll give you an example. When Kibaki was the president of Kenya, Joseph Kabila had to fly to Nairobi, I think it was 2009, if not 2010, to plead with Kibaki so that he could get back his gold that somebody called Paul Kobia they had smuggled out of Congo worth $150 million US. So the region has become rich by actually living off the back of Congo. And I think it's in the interest, and they do say that conflict has a utility value. Unfortunately, this utility value is not really benefiting the Congolese. The last question will go to Mwalimu Zito Kabwe. We know how the EAC collapsed in the 1970s with the Uganda invading Tanzania. How do you see this conflict playing into the EAC narrative? Are we going to end up with what is happening in the ECOWAS, where Niger is not part of ECOWAS, Burkina Faso, Mali? What's the future of EAC, given that members of EAC are accused of actually supporting conflict in the EAC member states? Thank you.
Okay. Kennedy, can I answer mine, then disappear, please? Kennedy?
Yeah, I don't know. Do
Yeah,
you
let
want
me
to
answer.
respond to them, or you want I
I
don't know.
want to make.
I don't know how
I
much.
don't. I have very little time to repeat what I've said.
I don't know if Harmony. Hold on. Harmony, do you have a
I'll,
question, or you wanted to make contribution, Harmony?
A contribution, but he can go ahead. I can go after him. It's fine.
yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Then Machanga, if you can just do briefly, because
Yes.
I also want to give to Zito, and
I
then
am very happy. I'm very happy that
Ole, yeah,
I
and then I have
am
Samson and Harmony to speak.
okay. One day I'm very happy that the words that I said here on this platform have become the theme of this discussion. Federalism, weak governance, dishonesty. Some people have even forgotten that it is I, Dr. Matanga, who said all Congolese neighbors, including the government itself, plus the rebels, are dishonest. When you bring them on the table, Mr. Wandera, the rebels don't tell us where they get their guns. And when the presidents sit on table, they don't attack each other. They don't tell us that you are the one giving guns, they solve the problem. I am now speaking with the heart of a conflict resolution expert. I am. I've solved the one before. I don't think there's anybody who is going to challenge me that I did not solve the one. I am the one who solved the Konyi and the Museveni conflict. This is the guy. This is Dr. Matsanga you hear about. I'm the one who went and met Konyi 12 times. I said, sign. Even if you disappear, sign and I give Ugandans peace. I'm proud. I have a history of having resolved one of the worst conflicts on planet Earth. That is the LRA and the government of Uganda. President Museveni, Kikwete, Kabila, the late, all these presidents know what role I played. I was the chief negotiator. Therefore, I speak from a point of conflict resolution. I know what it is. So when I was proposing a federal state that can enhance a central government that is weak, I was just proposing. If they want to take it, take it. If they don't take it, fine. Madame Vererel, it is true, I was in Sun City. I have attended the Lusaka negotiations. I attended the Sun City negotiations with Thabo Mbeki. And I want to assure you that Thabo Mbeki will not say Matanga was not in my team when we were negotiating Darfur crisis. I was in the team. Kisano will not say when we were negotiating Madagascar team conflict between the DJ man Joker with the other president that Matanga was not there. I was there. I know how conflicts are resolved. Therefore, for me, it is not me who suggested. I was asked to tell you that one of the best agreements that ever came out of Congo was the San City Agreement, which worked very well originally. I did not criticize it. I didn't say nothing, but I said that Sophie said, I wish they went back to that agreement. It worked until ICD of Roret Kabila disappeared because their grievances, the same grievances, were not solved. That's what they claim. So the soldiers left Kinshasa. They went where they went. You saw the fights. You saw how many people were captured. Who was in ICC? You know it. Matanga, I did not criticize any. I was only being a good scholar by bringing it out for you. I did not say I am the one who did that or that. No, I only said that I was there, and it is true. And Zito says I have been. Yes, I've been everywhere. I've also been in Tanzania in 1978 when you are not born, Mr. Zito. So you might say I was not in Musasani. So if you know that I know Musasani, Ikulu, I have been there from 1978, a younger man. So Tanzania is my home, my second home. Lieutenant General Muzuguri, the late, is my commander. Kwa hivyo, mambo ya kukuja hapa. You went to university 2002. Some people had left a long time ago.
Can you make a submission, Dr. Machanga, so that then you...
I was answering to all this.
I can see that getting.
No, I'm not going anywhere wrong. I'm just simply reminding my Tanzanian brother that I'm a Tanzania asili. Natoka huko kwetu.
But you said you are going to sleep. The old man was going to sleep, but you are still here.
Yes, lakini niko na mambo ya hapa ya I have some things to answer here, Zito.
Wacha na situongee sasa.
Finish, Dr. Machanga, so that we give...
Wewe Zito, Tanzania cannot cooperate, cannot become a part and a parcel of a French territory. There's one thing that you people have forgotten. The French are the people inside this mess. We can quarrel until the cows come back home.
Hiyo ni ndoto ya
Everywhere in
Zito.
Africa.
Zito ana ndoto kubwa
Eh?
sana.
And, yes, everywhere where we can even, I swear we can even quarrel, fight, call each other names, very rarely calls Matanga, big stomach, this, that, all these things. There is one problem we have, and that lady Kenyan girl said it. She said it. We have a very big problem that French, everywhere where the French have stepped to put their feet, ladies and gentlemen, we have got blood flowing. I swear in the name of God. Everywhere in Africa, look, Mozambique was so quiet. Total oil went to Mozambique. Cabo Delgado, blood started flowing. Look, Sudan was very peaceful. The French came in. They took sides. They told Libya. They called in Libya. Look, they have divided Libya today. The French. Everywhere. Now they have got another group of mercenaries from UAE, the Gulf states, that have money. The money stolen from Africa and the bank there is the money killing us. Look at that. We Africans have a problem. And that problem must be solved by you younger generation. For me, God is calling me. Could call me anytime. Have lived, I've seen governments overthrown. I've caught a gun, AK-47, in early ages. I know how to cock it. I know how to use it. I don't use it anymore. But I am telling you, you must be prepared for your Africa. We must be honest. The problem of DRC Congo, suggestion, if it cannot work, if Tshisekedi, someone here said Tshisekedi has given up, Zito said Tshisekedi has given up, he wants to rule the West, Kinshasa and the group and forget East. Then what else? You are coming back to the same, what Matanga said. That if it is too much, let's go Yugoslavian way. If the worst come to the worst, South Sudan cut off from Sudan. Why do you stick there when you are not wanted? When you are told you have long nose?
And what is the status of South Sudan now? They are fighting every day.
Chaos.
Eritrea
It
got
doesn't matter,
Eritrea got
Baba, but
Eritrea
Zito,
Eritrea
but
got
Zito,
Eritrea
it
got out
doesn't
of
matter.
Ethiopia. Listen,
It
Dr.
doesn't.
Mashang.
It doesn't matter. But when
Listen. We listen
a
to you. You
state
have to
has
listen to
been
us as
made,
well.
can you
South Sudan got out of Sudan. It had never been
now
peaceful.
you were here a few minutes ago.
Eritrea got out of
Yourself,
Ethiopia. It has
you are
never
here. Wewe
been
wacha
peaceful.
mzee, wewe wacha kidogo please. Ngoja kidogo. Subiri kidogo. Swahili yangu sanifu ilikuwa sanifu lakini imeisha. Subiri kidogo. Wacha nikwambie mzee. What I'm trying to say is this. If things don't work, where's the solution now? Wandera's question is, what next? Tshisekedi is going out looking for help here, there. What next? We need to give advice. He's our son.
Kennedy,
He's
can I
our
speak?
African. His skin is like ours. We can't leave him to run around without what next. We are answering that question. If we cannot, we want DRC as a one nation. Give them the federal system that can control Tshisekedi Akue president, remain president of the country, run the affairs of foreign affairs, defense, and the treasury. The others run the affairs of schools, activities, economic, roads. There are some parts in Congo, Zito, some parts in Congo, ladies and gentlemen, on this platform, where you cannot even walk, even on your own feet.
Kennedy, can
I
I speak?
wanted to answer the question of Uganda, and I want to make it as I land one day.
You have been landing for so many times.
Oh, I don't know whether your university lecturer must have been naughty.
Can I speak?
Dr.
Kennedy, can I
Mashanga,
Your
speak?
university lecturer must have been very poor.
Dr. Mashanga.
Let me do. No, but you tell him, let me finish. I'm not going
No,
to interrupt him.
okay, just wind up so that we
I
can.
am winding up. Why is he interrupting me? This 2002 university.
It's okay. Just
Let
make your
me tell
submission.
you.
We don't
Let
need
me tell
Dr.
you one thing.
Mashanga.
I have
Machanga,
said
hold on.
Uganda. Let me finish
Dr.
nicely.
Machanga,
Let me
hold on.
finish nicely. I
No,
have
wait,
respect.
hold on.
I've
Let's just
respected everybody. But if I'm
let,
going to be
let,
interrupted
let,
as if I've
let's
done
be
anything wrong, I'm not a president in East Africa.
let's be respectful even as we make our divergent views. I think it's
Please.
important we continue respecting each other here,
And
Dr.
I should
Machanga.
also be respected.
Please.
Yes, I should be respected. I'm not insulting anybody. I am just
Kennedy, can
making
I
my.
speak?
I'm not a president of an African country.
Allow him to use 20 seconds to finish and then you come in.
Yeah, I am just
Yes.
saying,
Okay.
Mr. Wandera, Uganda is officially in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We have an agreement signed, sealed, endorsed by President Tshisekedi and the President Museveni to pursue the rebels of ADF, whom we have 3/4 wiped out. And once our troops finish that assignment, with that agreement, we shall return home. The victorious UPDF will return home. 2, Uganda is in Beni. Someone here made a mistake, said Uganda is looting in Beni. We are in Beni because we are taken to International Court of Justice. Uganda was taken to International Court of Justice by Congo. And we are told to pay back $400 million. Uganda and DRC Congo government worked out infrastructure to be built in West Eastern Congo, in those areas of North Beni, the roads that are mushrooming, the dispensaries, the hospitals, the schools that we are building. Wandera, let's not come here to confuse people that Uganda is in Congo illegally. We are officially, and we are going, I repeat, we are officially, and we are officially going to be there. We shall stay there as long as there are terrorists in that place. We are going to hunt them. We have no, I'm a soldier. If you want us to go back and pick guns, we shall in the uniforms. We have not lost the urge to fight. Therefore, my country,
And
my,
last month I think you deployed more than a
we are
thousand
even,
additional.
yes, because we are deploying on agreement one day. We have an agreement. We have an MOU given by Mr. Kabila, signed Mr. Kabila, renewed by Mr. Tshisekedi. Let him tear it to pieces. Then we live. We are
So
officially in Congo.
5,000
We
Uganda
shall
soldiers
send
DRC.
more. Wandera,
Hey,
listen to my lips. We shall send more if there is a threat to our country.
so what Uganda's interests are in Eastern DRC, Dr. Machanga?
To wipe up ADF, terrorist groups. We have 3/4. We have done 3/4 of the job. The other interest
ADF
is to,
created by Uganda. Yeah. By the Ugandan army.
Kennedy, can we speak?
so we have done it.
Okay, land,
And
Dr. Machanga.
but lastly, I am not I'm not the spokesman of the government of Republic of Uganda. I am just a Ugandan, born, nurtured, educated to be able to defend my country. Therefore, if you touch my name, the name of my country, I will come down with you. If
Dr. Machanga, I think that is sufficient.
yes, if your country
Thank,
has got
Kennedy,
problems,
can we speak?
thank you,
sort
Dr. Machanga.
sort them out.
And just to hold on, Dr. Machanga,
Bye
thank you so
bye.
much.
I
Thank you.
no,
And
Wandera, it's too much, but thank you very much. You called me. I want to thank you very much.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you very much for the prayers that you prayed. I finally got appointed. As I will send you the letter, then you can announce to
Okay.
the people. Thank you. God bless
Congratulations.
you. I am still
Congratulations.
here.
For those who are wondering what Uganda is doing in Eastern DRC, we're talking about 5,000. Last month they sent 1,000 soldiers UPDF to DRC. That makes it a total of 5,000 Uganda army in Eastern mandated with combating the Islamic State-affiliated Allied Democratic Front (ADF). These are militant groups operating in Eastern DRC, and these 5,000 soldiers from Uganda are primarily situated in Ituri and North Kivu provinces. So the idea is that they are
North of Kivu,
intense.
not in North Kivu.
In,
North
the,
of
the
Kivu. Benin,
North
Beni is
the
not in
intent
Kivu. Please.
hold on, Dr. Mashanga, hold on. The intent, according to them, is to safeguard Uganda's borders against these militant groups. But the questions have also been asked whether they might seek to exploit the DRC conflict with M23 and mount attacks. Wow. Okay.
23
Zito, the question that
M20
was
Wandera M23 came to
Can I
us.
speak on that?
You wanted us
Dr.
to kill
Mashanga,
them? They were people, the
Doc,
Africans. They came to our country. You wanted us to kill them?
Kennedy, can you speak?
Dr. Mashanga, you've made your point. You made your
You
point.
wanted
Proceed,
us to
Zito.
kill them? They are human beings. In fact, we shall march towards the Kinshasa.
But you feel it's normal to come and kill rebels in our land because you have threats. That's what you said, huh? Sorry.
No,
Can I speak,
we are
Kennedy?
marching towards there.
Zito,
I think,
hold on, guys.
sorry, guys, there is a condescending attitude towards the Nani. It's not really nice for us to be so just tapping. It's okay, Wandera, just continue.
Can I speak on that?
Zito, proceed.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to react regarding Sun City because it has been spoken a lot, and I think a lot of people are just speaking about the generality of the Sun City agreements because it was not one agreement; it was like three agreements, and the Sun City agreement served the purpose then. Sun City agreement cannot be used now. Sun City agreement was to solve the Second Congo War, where some neighboring countries took parts of the Congo. In the words what former Prime Minister Meles Zenawi said that they saw Congo like a mine without an owner, and they can just go and take whatever they want to take. You remember Uganda was supporting Bemba, Rwanda was supporting the Azarias Ruberwa, and then Wamba Dia Wamba, the RCD itself divided. Even Rwanda and Uganda fought in Kisangani amongst themselves for the spoils of the Congo. So then Zimbabwe, Namibia, Angola got into the Congo. So Sun City resolved that, created transition. That transition led to the new constitution of Congo and the first democratic elections in 2006. During the transition, all the rebel groups were given power, all of them. Bemba became vice president, Bubera became vice president, and others. Like, there were four vice presidents in Congo then. And then after elections, the majority won, formed the government, and all it went until the precursor to M23 happened. So the problem, the existing problem now, cannot be solved by the Sun City Agreement. The Sun City Agreement led to the new constitution and the first ever elections in the Congo. I'm lucky that I went to observe that election as part of the SADC Parliamentarians Observer Group. It was my first time in Parliament. We stayed in Congo, and I was in Goma actually for a month observing that election. It was one of the freest and fairest election ever to happen in Congo. So we cannot solve the problem, the current problem, using Sun City. And even if people read the Sun City Agreement, they will see that. Secondly, regarding the federation, I see my friend has been speaking a lot about federation. The Congolese constitution today is a federal structure.
Thank you.
It's a federal structure. They increased the provinces from 11 to 26 provinces. All the provinces have been formed. The only problem is the implementation of the federal structure. There is a split of 60-40 on revenue. The amount of revenue that goes to the central and the amount of revenue that is supposed to remain at the provinces. The central government is not implementing that. Since Kabila, this is not a problem of Tshisekedi. Even Kabila did not see this happening. The governors are supposed to be elected by the provincial parliamentarians at the provincial level. So there is nothing new of what some people are suggesting here. The Congolese constitution today is a federal constitution, but it's not being implemented the way it's supposed to be implemented. And it has been a problem from Kabila to the son. It has been a problem under Tshisekedi, because we know ourselves, the Africans like to concentrate power, centralize power, and that's what is happening today. So when we look into these crises in the Congo, as Nkrumah called it, the challenge of the Congo, this crisis in the Congo has to be looked at in a very, very, very broader perspective, so that we identify the root cause and have a solution. And so for now, up to now, the area that seemed to be problematic is the eastern part of Congo. Other parts, other provinces, no problem at all. You don't hear the Manyema province rebelling, or Tanganyika province rebelling, or wherever, Lualaba, wherever, Ituri huko, Beni huko, all over. You only hear the problems in North Kivu and likely South Kivu. South Kivu, not that much, but North Kivu, the most. And this has to be addressed. If it is about the citizenship of the people in the North Kivu, if it is about discrimination, if it is about the presence of the genocidal forces, it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. Otherwise, we'll just be rounding up, tunacheza ngoma tu, tunazunguka. We're not solving the problem. And we are coming with a solution that had already been passed, that has already been addressed. The last point I want to make is regarding the East African community. As I was asked by the last speaker, I think it was Nondo or somebody. I don't see the Congolese crisis leading to the collapse of the East African community as it happened in 1970s, but Congo might decide to get out of the East African community. He is one of the new members, but it has to be also reminded. Although Congo became a member of the East African community under President Tshisekedi, but the first requests for Congo to join the East African community was given by President Kabila, the old man, Mzee Kabila, Laurent Desire Kabila. Immediately after he took over and the East African community was formed, and this was 1999, he sent a letter through his Minister for Foreign Affairs. Then, I think after Bizima Karaha, there was another Minister for Foreign Affairs, and the application has been there. Kabila, the son, Joseph Kabila Kabange, did not pursue it, and Tshisekedi pursued it. And for some of us, we saw that as an overture of Tshisekedi to the East, because Who is the biggest beneficiary of the Congo being in the East African community? It's the Eastern Congo. It's the Swahili-speaking provinces of the North Kivu, South Kivu, Manyema, Kalemi, and the new provinces of the old Katanga. These are the main, and maybe the Beni people in the Oriental, Province Oriental. I don't know the new names of the provinces that have been formed, but the Province Oriental also has produced like 4 new provinces. These Swahili-speaking provinces are the major beneficiaries of the East African community, bordering South Sudan, bordering Uganda, bordering Rwanda, bordering Burundi, bordering Tanzania. Not Bakongo, not Kasai, either of the Kasais, not Equator, and depending on the number of the provinces that have been divided there in Equator, the East is the beneficiary. And Tshisekedi comes from the West. So him allowing his country to be a member of the East African community was like an overture, like reaching out to the east. So with this, what has been happening, reconciliation not happening, maybe he will pull out of the East African community, maybe.
But
Yeah.
is that a viable option for him, or he feels what will be his justification for doing that?
But what was the justification for him to join? The same reasons he had for joining, the same reason he will have for because Kabila the father applied. Kabila the son did not care about it for 16 years. He did not pursue it, and he came and pursued it. So he can say, "Okay, fine, I was wrong. I'm pulling out." Over. So he can pull out. He can pull out. Uh, that's one of the options that he has. It's not necessary that he will. It's just an analysis that we are doing, but
So so
him pulling
if
out will not
so,
lead to the collapse of the East African community. That's what I wanted to answer.
so,
Yeah,
sorry to ask you
yeah.
this. Uh, what will that seek to achieve for him?
Because he thought with being within the East African community, Congo will be stable. Remember, the the treaty of the East African community is stronger than the SADC treaty. Actually, what is happening in Congo and the fight between, whether it's a real fight or the fights of the words between Rwanda and DRC, if you read properly the treaty of the East African Community, you should not expect that to happen. Under normal circumstances, any attack to any member country of the East African Community requires the whole East African Community to go and defend that country, according to the treaty. So now we're having a problem where one member is accusing the other, and there was no leadership to make sure that nothing like that happens, because it's not supposed to happen. With the East African Community, Kennedy, free movement of people, why do we have a problem of the Rwandese speaking people in DRC, or the problem of the Congolese in any member country of the East African Community? If the treaty and the protocol for the common market allows free movement of people, that a Congolese in Kikwit, Suko, in Kasai or wherever, can come and live in Bale or in Eldoret or in Tabora as a citizen. So there are things that our leaders are not observing. We are not executing. We are not respecting the treaties we signed. If the treaty of the Eastern Community is followed to the dot, there shouldn't be a war in Congo now. There shouldn't be at all. But our leadership, they're not doing it. And you hear the justifications for Uganda being in Congo, the justifications that Uganda is building roads. All these are just justifications to be in other people's country. Look at the statistics of the Uganda's export of gold, and can you number the gold mines in Uganda? And look at the statistics. How many millions of US dollars Uganda got as a forex from export of gold, as compared to the gold mines that Uganda? How many gold mines Uganda has? And all this is from Congo, and this is historical. Idi Amin, one of the reasons why he toppled Obote in 1971, was because there was a scandal of him taking gold from Uganda. I mean, from Congo, and Obote was to come back and punish him, and even fire him as the head of the army, and he decided to take power. And so these things are not new. They are happening. They are repeating. The roads being constructed in Uganda is being celebrated here. In Congo is being celebrated here. They are just to take the minerals out of there. So why don't we, as the East African community, just have properly exploiting these minerals properly and making sure that the source benefits, the exporting countries benefits as well. There are countries in the world exporting minerals without having mines. Switzerland, if you look at the statistics, is one of the largest exporter of copper. They don't have a copper mine, but we have companies who buy copper all over the world, and they source it from Switzerland. And other countries can be so. Rwanda can be that. Uganda can be that. But we have to respect the treaties that we sign. We have to respect the territorial integrities of these countries, and that's why I think people. I strongly believe what Zainawi said. Many people see Congo as a mine without owner, and everybody think that they can put a claim on it. And my solution, either Zambia or Tanzania, federate with Congo, provide the security, and nobody will touch Congo, stabilize it, and we solve this problem once and for all. It can't continue like this for the next 60 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zito. Let me bring in Harmon. Is this Harmony or who? Harmony, are you there? Kennedy, I have one of the easiest names. You can't mess this up. Harmony. Really, it's Right. really not that complicated. It's not. Proceed. Yes, okay. So I wanted to bring some clarification to what a gentleman by the name of Nondo said. And it's something that I've heard in many spaces when we talk about the reality of the discrimination against the Banyamulenge in the south and the Tutsis in the north. And he says that he's from the region. So he's from, I believe, Uvira or in the southern part. And he talked about his own experiences. And in sharing his experience, saying that, he's never experienced, I think, his tribe or where he comes from, they've never really lived, never witnessed any discrimination against Banyamulenges. And he's not Munyamulenge, I could tell. And he went on to say that the constitution, the Congolese constitution, has already settled the question about citizenship as relates to Banyamulenges and Rwandophone. And he's right about that. He's right about the law that is in place. But what he fails, and many people fail to do, is to understand that you may have laws in place, but you still have behaviors, right, that can contradict those laws. So just because you have laws that prohibit killing, that does not mean that killing does not happen. We do have a law in the DRC that says, that have already settled this matter. But the reality is, Banyamulenges, because he used their example, I'm not Munyamulenge, but I'm going to show you some facts now, because they are being discriminated. In fact, in Minembwe, there is a prominent leader in the community called Moise Nyahugabo If you go on his page, he's been repeatedly calling out and saying things that are happening in his community. And so I wanted to share an example because he said that Banyamulengis are not being discriminated. And this is what we call gaslighting. So essentially, what many Congolese are saying is this problem about discrimination does not happen because A, the law has settled that matter, and B, there's another example that they use a lot, which is we have within the government a Munyamulenge, and it's true. The DRC has one of the prominent leaders, he's a minister within the Congolese government who is himself a Munyamulenge, but that does not mean that Banyamulenges do not experience discrimination. So I'm going to read this. I'm going to share this on the comment section. So on February 5th of this year, so that was last month, there is a prominent leader. His name is Jean-Jacques Elakano. He is the vice governor of, let me see, yeah, of the South Kivu. And people who understand Swahili, I'm going to include the video. And this is exactly what he said. So he was pretty much saying we need to organize resistance against the Banyarwanda in Minembwe. So you have to understand, a lot of people do this. They sort of use the word Banyarwanda, but when you talk about Banyarwanda in Minembwe, you're essentially talking about the Banyamulenges. And so he's saying that in Swahili. He's saying we need to organize a resistance against the Banyarwanda. In this particular case, it's the Banyamulenge, and he calls them enemies, and they're coming, essentially to take over our land. And this is something that he said, and it's been caught on camera. I'm going to share the link. You guys can listen to it. And what I wanted to say is that, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who want to put their hand in the sand and they don't want to see the reality. And what happens is that over and over again, we have people coming on different spaces saying, no, 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 no. What you guys are witnessing, what your own eyes are seeing is actually made up. And that's really the definition of gaslighting, is to start asking people to question their own reality. And if that's not what many people do, the second thing that they do is to minimize it, to say, well, these are isolated, isolated events. This is really minor. So these are the kind of instances that we have where people don't want to see the reality for what it is. And people are dying. This is not a small person. This is literally the vice governor of South Kivu calling out other communities surrounding the Minembwe area, saying the Banyamulenges are your enemies. This is what a governor, an elected official, is saying on camera. Kennedy, ask me, where is this governor as we speak? He has not been called out on it. He has not been punished for it. The hate speech that we witness, we have countless of videos, and this is not a joke. These are not isolated events. This is the reality for a lot of our Banyamulenges, brothers and sisters who are calling out and saying, this is what we're experiencing. And when we have people who are unfortunately dishonest and saying, this is not happening because to them the law has been established, therefore, because the law says that you guys are Congolese, everything that you are experiencing does not matter. And it doesn't work that way. And having a prominent leader does not mean that his community is not suffering. I mean, the United States had a black president, for crying out loud. That did not stop for black people to be discriminated. I mean, I think this reasoning of just because you have prominent people in places of power sort of makes the argument that that particular community is not experiencing any form of discrimination is totally wrong. That does not make any sense. Kamala Harris was vice president, recently. That did not stop people from, being discriminated, black people being discriminated, because it is what it is. This is human behavior. Laws can be put in place. That does not stop people from believing or thinking that they can kill other people because they're different. So these are the kind of things that many of us, and I'm from the Tutsi community, my father being from Congo and my mom from Rwanda, this hits home because if you know, and Kennedy, you've organized, you've had a lot of these spaces, you're going to hear a lot of people who have not experienced the level of discrimination saying, you guys are being victims. You're exaggerating. You're not the only one. I mean, I'm a woman. I'm going to speak on women issue. That doesn't mean that men don't have issues. Obviously, I'm going to talk about what affects me. I'm going to speak about my cause because it's dear to me and it's something that I'm living, right? And I found that in many spaces, what you end up having when it comes to arguments, we have an all lives matter type of approach. A lot of Congolese have an all lives matter, and what a lot of people are saying, Black Lives Matter. But no, don't say Black Lives Matter. All lives matter. And this all lives matter that you hear is saying, don't just talk about you. No, if you're a Black person, you're going to talk about your cause. If you're Muslim, you're going to talk about your cause. That does not Yeah. mean that other people are not experiencing discrimination. So I'm going to share this link. And then that's just really to answer to what Nondo was saying. And then to end this, my take on actually the main subject, which was SADC. I personally supported the EAC. For me, it was the better mission. Okay, I think they accomplished a lot more than the SADC mission did. From the jump, for me personally, I thought SADC was a mistake. The countries in the EAC had security concerns. You know, you've got Uganda, Burundi, Rwanda, and you have Tanzania. Those who are directly affected by the insecurity problem in the border, I think have a stake in this, and I think it's important. And again, maybe there was a silent majority, but for me, I felt that they had accomplished what SADC did not accomplish, and what that was is that they successfully implemented a 6 month ceasefire. That was a success. And during that time, you know, the M23 had sort of relinquished about 80% of the territory that that were under their their command. And I think that was a success. And that, for me, I felt that things were really moving forward. But I believe that Tshisekedi wanted an offensive. He wanted an offensive force because that's what he had hoped, and they were not giving it to him. And then for me, SADC was definitely not a peacekeeping force. It was not. It was a belligerent in this situation because they did not come to bring peace. And I'm glad that they are going to be out. And I think, and I was one of the, I guess, the few people in the beginning that really wanted dialogue. And I think this is how this conflict is going to end, by having honest dialogue, but implementing what is being agreed. Talking to people is one thing, but you have to now follow through with what has been agreed. And I personally, because of past experience, I don't think that the President Tshisekedi can, follow through on a lot of his promises. And I think that's, unfortunate, but that's kind of what I want to share. Thank you. Okay, Harmony. Thank you for sharing that. I want to take 1 minute each from Eve, Kenyan German lady, and then I'll take Sophie and Dr. Wolo Jiwale last remarks as we close this.
Thank you,
In the
Kennedy.
meantime, please follow someone in the audience. Follow someone who is next to you. We connect here and we establish networks, and it's not just about establishing networks, but also maintaining those networks, because your networks are your net worth. So get a friend. Tomorrow you may want to travel to Ghana and they are here. That friend is going to guide you to get to Ghana. So connect. You may never know. Your significant other may be here. Who knows? Yeah. So please connect and also get to know each other. It's good. It's good. We are African brothers and sisters, and we use these spaces as well to just know each other and connect with each other. Follow my panelists here. Follow me as well, and it will be good going forward. Proceed. Eve.
Yeah, yes, Kennedy. Thank you so much. I must admit that, when we listen to these spaces, there's one thing that has kept, running in my mind, but I say today, I think it's good I mention it, so that even as we go and ponder on the solutions, on the best solutions, we don't leave it out. I am a bit, I don't know, I should say surprised. I have mixed feelings on this one particular aspect regarding the minerals in the eastern part of Congo, and even in the larger DRC. When you talk about this conflict and the history and the neighboring countries, you know, I can't help but notice that it's just the African countries that are being blamed on exploiting the minerals in DRC. you hear of it could be true or false, but here is my point. You hear of Rwanda, you hear of Uganda, you hear of the minerals, the wealth being spent here in Kenya, you hear of Tanzania, you hear of, there's a South African company. All these are African, countries, and the majority of people would come and say, why are these countries exploiting the resources of DRC? True or false? That is a concern to me, because in this mineral rich country, we have China, we have America, we have Dubai, we have the technological companies, we have Apple. We just recently heard of a case that was taken, I don't know where it was taken to, but there was a case that the DRC raised concerns with the Apple. But within our African conversations, we rarely, hammer them the way we hammer our own regions. And it got me thinking, are we comfortable if, the West or foreigners or China benefit from the Congolese rather than the Africans ourselves? It's a question that it's mind-boggling, because we cannot enfranchise ourselves and empower foreigners, and as you would notice, they're very quiet in this conflict. We are the ones wrecking our brain and trying to understand this, understand that, we give solutions here and there, but they are quiet. Belgium has a reserve of gold. From where? Where did Belgium mine gold? In the Belgian territory. From where? Britain has gold, a very big reserve of gold. Again, from where?
Mhm.
Canada, but we are beating ourselves up. We are beating Rwanda, we are beating Uganda, we are beating South Africa, we are beating everybody. It's really not fair. We really need to be careful to not keep on fighting within ourselves. Yet the people who are benefiting the most are quiet, and they're bringing in sanctions, and we are clapping. Sometimes I look at it and I say, wow, it's really mind-boggling. I'll leave it at that, Kennedy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Eve. Um, Kenya German lady.
Thank you very much once again, Kennedy, for this wonderful discourse. I have learned so much from especially the Congolese who we had a chance to listen to. But I'd like to be brief because I know Kennedy is sleepy right now. Okay, so I would like to say that from a historic perspective and what is currently ongoing, there are over 250 rebel groups in the DRC. And then we have 14, the 250 are just the local ones. And then we have over 14 groups which are foreign rebel groups. Amongst these, we have M23, FDLR, Allied Democratic Forces, ADF. Then we have Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, again, FDLR, I think, militias. And then we have Codeco. Those are the biggest ones, okay? So there are over 250. What I'm trying to get at, the DRC has had a couple of presidents from Joseph Kasavubu, then we had Mobutu Sese Seko, Laurent Desire Kabila, then we had Joseph Kabila, then we have now Felix Tshisekedi. And I'm trying to keep to 1 minute, Kennedy, and that is why I'm just really rushing through. I'm trying to get at something. And I hope people are going to understand what my point is. We have had wonderful discussions. So we've realized we cannot discuss the conflict in the Congo without placing its people and the experiences at the center of the discussion. Because otherwise, like I said before, this is going to be like the Berlin Conference only on the African continent. So ignoring the role of the neighboring countries, because somebody said, oh, don't blame neighboring countries. We are not blaming them. We're saying they play a crucial role in